Good evening, Central Indiana, and welcome to our newest edition of Sports Nuts on Porch Time. Tonight we've got a guest that has his fingerprints all over football in the state of Indiana. We're going to be talking with Mo Moriarty. He's the 10th all-time winningest coach in the history of Indiana football. 305 wins, 101 losses. Coached at the high school level, college level, won everything you can imagine. Played with some pretty great, or coached some pretty good players. So we'll start right off and get to it. So, Coach, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you coming up and talking to us.
Good to be here.
We only deal with Hall of Famers around here. We've had Mike Gillen and Bud Wright and now Mo. So
they've won a few games.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Bud was a blast. I didn't know what to expect from him. I knew Mike a little bit from Bob, and I coached a little bit against Mike, but I had never met Bud, didn't know anything about him, and man, he was a blast. He was great. I'll tell you, one of the most interesting things that he said the whole night, it kind of floored me. I asked him, what's changed the most about kids? And he didn't really hesitate. He said, air conditioning. And I said, what do you mean? And he just said, you know, we're a farming community. We used to get kids off the farm. They were big and strong, used to being out in the heat. Now they sit around in the air conditioning. And it was fascinating to think of that aspect. Like, I would have never thought of that in a million years. But yeah, he said air conditioning has changed kids. They're not as, I don't know, he didn't say tough. He just said they're just not as conditioned, you know, as far as being outside in the heat and everything. But anyway, he was fun to talk to. So yeah, I appreciate you being here and giving us some time. So tell us how you got started. So you graduated from Martinsville, right?
Yep.
In 73?
I did.
So you were here on when Coach Siderwitz's first year, right?
Second year.
Yep. Okay.
Moved here prior to my junior season, just probably weeks before football started, and obviously turned out for me to be a really good move because my junior and senior year we went 9-1 in football.
Yep.
And the only team we lost to was Bloomington.
Yep.
And but you know, it was special playing for Coach Sidewicks, especially back then.
Yeah.
He really made football fun. It was a big deal to be a football player at Martinsville High School.
Yep.
And you know, it's funny. I was just texting back and forth today with Jerry Sisson, you know, one of the greats that came out of Martinsville. And I was actually telling him about the coach in Northern Indiana that just got fired for throwing a chair and da-da-da.
I saw that video.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said, Jerry, you know, we were fortunate that we played for really great coaches when we were in high school, you know, so I had Coach Sidewicks, I had Coach Alford, I had Coach Kuntz, I had Coach Tutterow.
That's a run right there.
That's as good as it gets
Yeah.
in the state of Indiana for coaches. So I think that and my dad, like those four guys and my dad, that's why I became a coach.
And if you think about it, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, those are legendary coaches. And then I was kind of looking at it today. I didn't realize this, but Coach Siderwitz got hired here in 70. Coach Knight got hired at IU in 71. Coach retired in 99, and Coach Knight retired or left IU in 2000. So their careers, I mean, you talk about growing up in this area with those guys. I mean, Tut was a fabulous baseball coach. You know, Coach Kuntz in football, Coach Siderwitz in football, Coach Arrett in wrestling and football, you know. And then you got, I mean, we kind of had like the golden era of growing up in this area during that time, in my opinion.
So they were all great coaches, no question.
Let's catch up with these guys. I see Max. Okay, he said no sound at first, but there it is. There's Michelle. Michelle's our friend from Iowa. She grew up here and moved out to Iowa, and she listens to pretty much everything we do, so she's a big supporter. We always like to see her on. Did I see Nyla up there? Yeah, Nyla's on. She's been joining us every week.
Yep.
Yeah, Coach Kuntz was amazing. Yeah, he was one of my favorite coaches. He was fun as a driver's ed teacher too. So I didn't see the video of the coach that threw the chair. So what happened? I didn't see it.
I just read it.
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I know about it.
He
a few bad calls it looked like against him going against his team.
Yeah.
He went for a chair, assistant grabbed it, went for another chair, assistant grabbed it, and he kind of composed himself, walked around for a minute, took another one and chucked it.
Assistant went down to yell at the ref, and he went behind the assistant and grabbed the chair and pitched it.
Then he went for another one, and then they I think they grabbed him and said, "You got to go."
Yeah.
Out on the floor, kind of like we've all seen.
Yeah.
Across there.
It made it down to not as far as the toss as Coach Knight's.
Yeah.
Not, and
he didn't get the distance, no.
The greatest thing I always tell people is who was at, Coach Mo, do you know who was at the free throw line?
Edward Stevens.
No, wrong.
Steve
And
Reed.
you're out.
Steve
Oh,
Reed.
well, okay, so you just killed it.
But
You wouldn't have got that? Okay. Who was the free throw line? Who was shooting the free throws when he threw the chair?
Do you know what caused it?
Oh, a bad call.
Probably Teddy Valentine.
No, I don't think Teddy was around then.
It was a loose ball, and Marty Simmons got it.
Yeah.
They called a foul. On
They called
Marty
him a foul. Yeah, it was a bad call. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a reason, but
Yeah.
you still, I don't care what world you're in. Hey, you can't do that.
Yeah, no.
You just can't do that. Mono's on the sideline. It's tough, but you just can't do things like that.
And to get away with, I got away with it. You know what I mean? He coached another 20 years down there after he did.
Well, he won a few games.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That left column helps you.
You think that's the I always said your leash is longer the more wins you got. You can do some dumb stuff when you're racking up some W's.
Well, winning, it cures a lot of things for sure. But I think Bob Knight had a longer leash than any high school coach.
Yeah.
You're not going to throw in.
High school coach don't have. Sam Alford probably got fired if he threw a chair. If they had him back then, they probably sit on the bench back then, like
you see guys now throw water bottles and bounce out on the floor and throwing stanchions and stuff, and you just can't do that now. You know what I mean? It's different times. So.
Well, I do know this. I can tell a story here, Coach. When I came to Martinsville, I was a move-in too. I moved from southern Indiana, from Greene County. Here, my cousin lived up here, and that's kind of how my mom's from Martinsville originally. That's kind of how we morphed back here. My dad got a job in Indy, so it put us closer. Obviously, we'd be around her family. But anyways, the great thing about walking in Coach Siderwitz's old office, obviously it's not set up the way it used to be, but his office over there, he had everybody's helmet up there, and he had a little card in front of everybody's helmet of what they did football-wise, as far as, the accomplishments during their high school career, all conference, all state, South All-Star team. Back then they had the Herald Telephone, Bob Hamill had the top 33. Anyways, if you walked in that office, there was two people that were talked about. That guy, Coach Moriarty, and Jerry Sisson.
Yeah.
He says probably the two best football players, pound for pound, he ever had. Coach Siderwitz always said that. And I'm a guy that...
get through a story without going to Coach Mo or to Jerry.
Oh, no.
For 4
no
years,
question.
that's all you heard.
No question, yeah.
Do you know who the first All-State player was for Coach Siderwitz at Martinsville?
Well, I'm not going to cheat. I'll let you answer this. You told me.
Robin Schoolcraft?
No. It was you. The first All-State.
Schoolcraft was All-State.
Robin was All-State, but I didn't know it was.
Was Robin before you or with you?
Bob was a year ahead of me.
Okay.
He was a senior when I was.
Okay. Well, there you go, Dean.
Yeah.
He was pretty good.
I got that info.
He was good. Robin was. Oh, you're gonna blame that on me?
No, I'm just saying I got
I'll tell you
that
that story.
We're getting it from the horse's mouth, man.
Right. I think over there.
This is a true story about Robin Schoolcraft.
Oh, here we go. Love
We practice. What's the elementary?
it. You practice at Poston over at Poston Road, yeah.
Yeah. And so we rode a bus there to practice every day from school. And
Yeah.
Wayne Grady drove the bus.
Yeah.
Okay. So one night after practice, we jumped in the bus. Robin Schoolcraft jumps in the driver's seat and he drives us back. And we're all yelling at Siderwicks and Coots waving out the window.
Oh,
now, I'll tell you
Lord.
what. Now, we paid for that the next day.
Could you see the steam, Mo, coming out of their ears?
Oh, man.
Can you hear him? What the hell was going
Oh,
on?
We thought we were all home free till the next day.
Yeah. You probably did a few down ups and a little for some things. Yeah. We got to, hey, that's a part of this we're not going to recall.
Did you guys practice at the park ever? Did you guys run the hill?
I never did, but when I was in college and I'd be getting ready to go back and play, I would go and run the hill with the players.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was tough.
Yeah.
That was real tough.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, especially for fat linemen, Coach. Guess where we were? The fat linemen were down by where the softball backstop
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Hey, so as you ran up the hill, can we on those? It gradually go. So by the time you got to the bottom of the hill where it got really steep, guys were halfway up, and you're dying. I mean,
that's when the walk gear kicks in.
Well, yeah. Unless you had somebody's foot up your butt.
My favorite thing about that is they would tell you, go run the hill twice. So everybody would go run to the top of the hill, and then a bunch of guys would lay down in the tall weeds up there. Then they would come down. They were just going to blend in the second time. Then everybody would get down to the bottom. You'd say, that's good enough, just one. Then you look around, you're missing 14, 15 guys. Well, then, like you said, you got to pay for that, too, because you get caught doing that. So,
The good days.
yeah, the fun times.
Steve Stevens is on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's down in Florida.
Yeah, I don't think they still run the hill, do they?
No, I think they quit a couple years ago.
Fred Kutcher brought it back.
Oh,
Fred
really?
took him up there his first couple years, but no, they don't do it anymore.
That's something I don't miss. Trust me.
Yeah.
When they blow that damn air horn, it was.
Yeah.
You'd see him over on a golf
So,
cart.
Coach, what do you think when you came to Martinsville and you moved in your junior year? And obviously the people that you just named, I had the privilege, and I do mean privilege, of playing for those guys. The biggest thing that you learned for football, for your football knowledge from them, because you played middle linebacker on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think to start with was what I tried to, I think, do as a coach that I learned going through the program here was when you played, didn't matter what sport you played here,
Mhm.
you felt that was the best program in the state. You didn't think anybody else had a program like you had. Right or wrong, in your mind, and nobody has a program like this.
Better than. Yeah.
And so what I tried to do as a coach is I wanted my players to think this is the greatest program that there is in the state. So all the things that, you have player of the week and they put your pictures up and
Yep.
Hit of the week and player of the week.
I did all that stuff.
Nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic.
Everything to make it fun, make you feel like that it was important. So I think a lot of it was just I learned how to run a program the way it should run. And then on top of that, after I got out and got into coaching, I saw how much Coach Siderwick studied the game, how he would go visit places. So 1 year I was at the University of Houston when he was there the same week because they ran the veer all.
They ran the veer, yep.
Bill Yeoman was the architect.
Yep.
And I'm sitting in a room with Coach Siderwick and Houston coaches and studying the game of football the way. So, and I never ever stopped doing that throughout my career. I mean, I went 2 years ago. Spent 3 days with my last year. I spent 3 days with the Saints because I know the O-line coach.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan Rothschild, you may know him.
Yeah.
Coached one time. I had a guy that was a GA when I was at IU. He's now the offensive coordinator at Penn State, Mike Yursich. A couple years ago, he was the OC at Oklahoma State. We flew out there. So things I learned, I was able to take as a coach, I think, and good things with it.
Okay, so player-wise too, when you came there, so the biggest thing with Coach Siderwitz was with him. Before a game, I always felt playing for him, he could get you ready to play. His pregame speeches were really, really just, I mean, they were Lombardi 29s, the thing that you pulled, or Rockneys or whatever. I mean, he could just get you ready to tear a door down and go.
It was always us against the world.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They all hate us. Nobody.
Well, his biggest thing was, and I know you got a purple shirt on. See, Mo wore a purple shirt. But that's okay.
Well, not only Monroe, but Marion County too. It was those two counties versus us.
Well, yeah, but he played the underdog card huge. Like his biggest thing was Bloomington South beat him. They beat him 84-0. I know you heard that probably multiple times through your career. But you guys closed the gap. Your class with Robin and you and them, you guys went from the 84-0. You guys were in both games, right? Your 2 years.
Yep,
I mean, lost them
0-0 at half.
Yeah.
In 71.
Yeah, I talked to Mac Dunn, and he told me that he's coming in. I think he's going to stop by here next week. But he told me the story the year before. The next year, you guys, nothing after 3. I thought he said ended up 27-0 at the end of it. But
so you didn't play in the 84-0 game. You came the next year, right?
And that that year it was 0-0 at half. But here's the thing that was unbelievable about that. We would stay after back then, and they would feed you.
Yeah.
And so we're coming out, and it's early. I mean, it's 4 o'clock maybe. There was a line of people already from the football field all the way. It was unbelievable.
So was this at Martinsville or at?
It was at Martinsville.
It was at Martinsville. Okay.
And I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, so do you know this? So they got beat 84-0. The next year they get beat 27-0. The next year they get beat 35-6.
Yeah.
Then he wins 6 in a row against South. It's the longest streak. So, it didn't take him long to close the gap.
No.
And it's interesting to get your point. What was Martinsville football like? What was their reputation when you came in? It wasn't good, right?
I'll be honest with you. When we moved here, I didn't really know anything about Martinsville.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this: when I came here, and it was Koontz with the weights.
Yeah.
Nobody was lifting weights then. We lifted weights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's true. I was decent size. I've never been big, but for junior in high school, I wasn't huge, but I wasn't tough. Well, I played with the lesser twins. I played with some guys. I was 20, 30 pounds heavier than them. I couldn't lift with them. I was embarrassed, so I would sneak in the weight room to catch up, so I wasn't so embarrassed when I went in the weight room.
That's funny.
And Coach Siderowitz's thing he'll say is when he came to Martinsville, because he came from Rensselaer.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say it because Bud mentioned Coach Siderowitz last week that Bill was the head coach at Rensselaer and had a great staff at Rensselaer. Geisman was on his staff.
Chuck
Loride.
Dale Hummer.
Yep.
Those guys all won state championships.
Yeah, and they were on Bill's staff as assistants. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, though, as Bill said, coaches told me many times, he asked them, well, what's your guys' weight program like? And they looked at him. And Coach is so funny. You know how he is. Oh, they looked at me like I was from Mars. What's a weight program? Yeah. And that's kind of what set them off. Like you said, was a little bit of a difference maker too.
Yeah,
honestly.
And Koontz was tremendous in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
He was an ex-Marine, but you loved him. I mean, you'd run through a wall for him, but you didn't want to let him down.
Right.
So I mean, you were going to give everything you got.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
I mean, that's so funny. I'm going to interrupt. Offense, defense. I have not met a defensive player that played for Koontz that would not say what you just said. They would run through a brick from Bertelson and Carter and on down the line to Mo.
Bobby Payne.
Everybody felt the same way that played defense for him.
That's the best description I've ever heard because I could never put my finger on it, but that's it, is that you didn't want to let him down because he was tough. I mean, he was tough.
He was brutal.
Yeah. But
rightfully so.
But no one hated him. Everyone loved him.
But you know what he did? He told you the truth.
Yeah.
Hey,
every day.
And kids.
You knew he cared.
Yeah, you knew he cared. Yeah. You knew he cared.
He told you the truth both ways. When you messed up, he told you messed up. But when you made a good play, he said
you made a good
play.
He hit me in the helmet once, and it wasn't. Back then, it wasn't like it was something anybody should get in trouble about. It was more or less. I'm sure I had it coming, and I saw stars.
Yeah.
It's that's probably the first time I really got my bell rung.
That's good stuff.
He used to carry a horsewhip around and it had a little piece of leather on it. And, he would hit us in the helmet with it, but it didn't hurt because it's in the helmet. And it was just like that intimidation thing. But every once in a while he would miss, and the ring that held the leather in there would hit the helmet, and it would rattle the helmet. And I always thought it was funny because he wasn't trying to do that, but sometimes he would just miss, and they would. Billy said Coach Koontz slapped me in the head during driver's ed. I was in the back seat. It was awesome.
Billy deserved it though, I'm sure. 100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were pulling out in the traffic, and
I played basketball as a junior, and in my senior year I wrestled because some of the guys I just talked about were, and I was going to play football in college, but I always, and Jerry knows it, but even when I interviewed for the football job at Bloomington South, tell people about what I did in high school. And I still say it today. I said, I played basketball, but my senior year, I wrestled so Jerry could get a chance to play.
That's fine.
There you go. Gave him a spot, Mo.
Gave him a chance.
You gave him a chance.
Player right
Stepped
there.
aside
Even
for
though
it.
he started as a freshman.
Yeah.
as a junior.
Now, was he the quarterback when you played?
No, he was a sophomore my senior year.
Your senior. Okay,
When
so
I graduated, Randy Wells was my freshman.
Randy Wells.
And then
Yep.
Dillo was my junior year.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
And those guys were good.
Oh, Randy was a 3-sport athlete at DePaul, man. Randy Wells, yeah.
And Dillo was good.
Dillo was good.
Really
There was a lot of, there was some talent in the town that hadn't been sold on winning. And like you said earlier, to circle back, Coach Siderwood sold them on we're going to win.
Well, so when I was looking up all the stuff, we got Coach coming in next week, and so I've been doing research, looking up stats and stuff. And there's not a lot of information on Martinsville pre-Coach, but there's a little bit. But in the first 50 years of Martinsville football, they only had like 73 wins in the first 50 years. And then Coach comes, and it
went
takes
off.
Yeah, so
It took off. Yeah.
I mean, so
I
there
think
was
5 wins was the most I'd ever won in a
Yeah,
year.
in a
Yes,
game
yes.
or in a season. Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
You know, Sam Carmichael played.
really.
Sam did? Okay.
I did
I did not know that.
He did.
Yeah,
There's a nugget.
yeah.
That is a nugget.
So listen to this. Where did I lose? Oh, Mac Harris said, I watched Coach Kuntz do sets of 5 with 305 pounds at 57.
Oh, yeah.
years old.
I don't doubt that.
This was when I was in high school. Coach Kuntz would still lift with us. And he still, he could do 305 for, I mean, he was, he passed away early. He had that stomach aneurysm. He was only 62 when he passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, but he lifted with us when he really got our advanced weight program going. Mo, you know how that was when you coached. You guys got it going at South and all that. And
What's your brother think of Coach Kuntz? His favorite coach ever. That's what he's told
The
me.
man cared about kids, and you could tell. And not that all coaches don't, but Coach Kuntz was that tough love, like a dad or a grandpa would give you. You're not gonna like what I'm gonna have to tell you, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
It's like Bob said. He told you the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Max said, not really bragging, but kind of. My senior year, we beat South at South 63 to
I don't
nothing.
remember
He didn't
that.
have to bring it.
hold on, I was waiting on that. Somebody to snipe in there and say that. I was like, oh man.
Bad thing is South can throw some stuff at us too.
Yeah, well, Mo's got a couple rings.
Billboards.
That's he's got 3 rings, so
Yeah.
it's
It is what it is.
yeah, pretty much. That was a good rivalry though.
Yeah.
It was.
And Coach, and you know what the funny thing about it was, Coach Siderwitz made it a rivalry. He did. And I remember because his first year I was a freshman. He had Kurt Mallory. I think you just gotten the job at South, 86, 87, right? 87?
87.
87. And they came in and we were ranked. We were in the top 5 of the state. And Mo came in here and they had a good solid team. John Deem, I remember that guy. You ran the veer. You ran the split back veer that night. And John Deem ran all over us out on our field. And Kurt Mallory had about 72 tackles. he was, but I was a freshman, Mo's first year at South,
So-
head job.
Coach Siderwitz coached for 30 years. Played Bloomington South 40 times in those 30 years because from 91 to 99, played twice a year.
Because of the sectional,
Because of sectionals. And every year in the 90s, either Martinsville put South out or South put Martinsville out every single year in the 90s. And, so, I mean, you're playing, that regular season game, then you play in the playoff game. And, it was there's a lot of games. I mean, I was going through the scores and stuff, looking them up, and there's tons of games, 10-7, 14-13.
Did you go to college at St. Joe? Yeah, you went to St. Joe, right, after high school?
Yeah.
And then played there, and then where was your first, before you got the South job, where was you at?
I went to Fountain Central.
Okay.
Dell Hummer, who was an assistant here, hired me.
Okay.
So I was at Fountain Central 5 years. Went from there to be a head coach. Lakeland, the northeast corner of the state.
Yeah, that's way up
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almost I was like 2 miles from Michigan.
From Michigan.
Yep.
So I was there 5 years, and then I came to South. From there, I was at South for 15, IU for 3, Carmel 5, IU for 1,
Mm-hmm.
Salem for 2, and then I came back to South for 7.
Yeah.
So when So right out of St. Joe's, so you went to St. Joe's, played all 4 years, started as a freshman, is that
I
right?
did.
Yeah.
Nice.
And played middle linebacker.
Yep.
So take us through that experience. What was the difference between high school and college? I mean, just
You know, the thing that, and I wish a lot of high school kids would hear this, is that there aren't any bad players in college.
yeah.
And everybody, unfortunately, think unless you go to D1, it's not good football. That's why you watch games on Sunday, and these guys will be from schools you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Now,
Jerry Rice.
yeah, I started as a freshman more of default than anything else because everybody graduated.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what, my freshman year, I got my kids every Saturday. I mean, I just did. I got in here. I thought I was, Joe All-State. I was going to dominate.
Yeah.
I got dominated.
That's funny.
But I loved it, and by the time I got out there, I was decent. But early on, I got beat up. But small college football was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And I've coached D1, big at the highest level, and there's advantages to both, but I think one of the advantages you have in small college football is it's more like high school. College football, it's a business.
Yeah.
They can tell you got to be here, do this, do that. You can say no, but you're also going to lose your scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Small college, it's just it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
I want to ask this, and I was going to wait till later, but West Middle, that's where you guys played your guys' games.
Yes.
Was there, and if I'm trying to remember how West was set up at the time, was there a greater feeling walking out of that locker room with those gold pants on? Because, that's what our senior year, we were good. Final Four, George beat us and all that. But there was no better feeling than hearing those spikes click across the road and you look into the stadium.
Did you guys have the gold pants?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I just took Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
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 UCLA on the sleeves. Notre
Coach
Dame on
loved
the
Notre
pants.
Dame, and he had the UCLA for
Stripe, yeah.
stripes up
There
here.
was no greater feeling than hitting that pavement and looking out across the street and seeing
The clip,
fans.
yeah.
And he would sell you
Well,
on that.
You talked about his pre-game talks.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a bye week one year at St. Joe, and so I brought carload, 4 or 5 guys. We came down from Martinsville game, and you had, I don't know what you did. You had the locker room and then the old weight room.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I was at the new high school, so you were still at
so
the.
I was in the old locker room.
Yeah. Yep.
And so in the weight room, you had these old windows that was kind of pull open like with a chain or something. So I got over there and I said, "Come on, you got to listen to him." And we pulled open and went, so we could listen to his pregame talk.
awesome.
And I was just, it was a good time.
Those guys are ready to go
'Cause
play.
back then, in high school, we were, but I knew how it was then. And I was just trying to keep from laughing so somebody couldn't hear me. He's always telling you that other teams out there making fun of you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, always.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a head game,
I'll
isn't
tell you
it?
what was crazy though was he'd have us do jumping jacks and make fun of the other team. So we'd go out. I can remember we played Seymour, and they were really, really good. And so when we did our jumping jacks, I don't know why I remember then, but it was beat the birdies, everything like that. So he was.
It's a head game,
He
man.
was on top of the head game.
Yeah.
So Bob and I coached basketball together, and I told we coached girls basketball together. It was a riot. So I told the girls right off the beginning before we played our first game ever. I said, "Look, it's going to say Martinsville across the front. It's going to say Martinsville across the front of your shirt, so you're not going to get any calls. The other team's going to be getting just suck it up, and it is what it is, And our girls never really complained about it. We just told them from the beginning, it's us against the world, and they always had that mentality. And I thought they were pretty tough, didn't you?
Yeah.
We're playing.
Yeah.
I always loved that from Coach Siderwitz. It's like it's us against the world. Everyone's against us. Let's go put it to them.
Yeah.
Coach Knight always said he loved winning on the road much better than he loved winning at home because you stick it to the
Put it to
fans.
them.
Yeah. So
I always tell my guys the best feeling is to walk out of somebody's stadium and you hear what? Silence.
Yeah.
That means you've done your job and you've won the game and you move on down the road. So,
So you played at St. Joe's 4 years, and then you go straight from St. Joe's to Fountain Central as an assistant.
Yes.
So, and then how'd you end up? Did you know somebody? Did you go through a formal process? interview, because Bob's told us a couple jobs that he's gotten where it was just like, hey, I know this guy and I know this guy and let's get him. And was it somebody you played with at St. Joe's that had a connection, or
Fountain Central?
Yeah.
Dell Hummer.
Okay.
He was Coach Sidewick's assistant. So when I was at Martinsville, he was one of the assistant coaches.
I gotcha.
And he actually told me when I graduated from college he'd have a job for me.
Oh, nice.
And
That's
so
awesome.
he did. I'll tell you better story was when I graduated, before I took the job at Fountain Central, I had somebody call me from Newcastle where Coach Alford was, at the junior high. He called up and said, we have a teaching and coaching position for you. And I said, great. I said, when do you want me to come interview? He goes, well, you don't need to. Coach Alford recommended you. And I want to tell you, at the time, I didn't have a job. Now, can you imagine being a senior in college? You're broke.
Sure.
You don't have any money. You don't know what's going to be next. And I'll never forget that for as long as I live, that what he did. Now, I went to Fountain Central because it was a high school job.
Yeah.
And Dale Hummer was a football coach, and I knew I could get a lot.
So Dale came to Martinsville from Rensselaer with
Came
Coach,
with
correct?
Coach,
Yeah,
yes.
came with, okay, because you said his name earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac, Desi Dunn. Mac is in class this evening. I'm hoping he makes it home before the program's over. So Mac will be on here hopefully not too long.
Yep, and he can go back and rewatch it, Desi, if he doesn't make it, but it'd be nice to interact.
So that's kind of cool because you being at Fountain Central, David Bolin was the head coach over there at Fountain Central.
Wasn't Vince?
And Rick Malone was
Rick Malone was
Rick
the
Malone, and
youngest coach to win a state championship.
yes, and he's a Martinsville. He played at Martinsville. Yeah.
Wasn't Vince over there too? Am I
No,
wrong?
Vince wasn't there. Vince was in, I think, Delphi.
Yeah.
and
Maybe it was
Frontier.
Frontier and Delphi.
That's
Yep.
right.
Frontier is where he has most success.
Yep. But that's kind of cool. I mean, you got guys
Forgot about
tied
Rick
in.
Malone.
Rick Malone was head guy. David was head guy for a little bit, and then I think Rick took over for David, right, Coach?
Was after Rick.
Okay, sorry, after Rick. Okay,
And I think
okay.
they both had pretty
Good runs,
much
yeah.
Success. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vince was supposed to be here in 2 weeks, but he had something come up today, so he couldn't make it. But yeah, I was hoping to get him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Vince is. He's
a
good
Hall-
people.
He's a Hall of Famer. We only deal with Hall of Famers around here.
Well, that's all you got to get.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all we book.
that's right. So then you go to Lakeland. So how's that come about?
That was simply by chance.
Yeah.
And kind of fell into it because I interviewed like in April. And that year I'd been a head or assistant coach for 5 years. And I really wanted to be a head coach bad. So I interviewed probably 6 or 7 places.
Yeah.
And I actually put a garden in where I'm not going to get it. We're here for another year. And
Yeah.
I was sitting at school, and it was a teacher day, so it was the end of school. There
No
weren't any
students.
students there, and the principal called me in his office. Hey, I think they're going to offer you a job. And I kind of looked at him. What are you talking? I mean, that was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they called, and I went up and interviewed and got the job, and it was a great place to start. We went 9-1 my first year.
Yeah.
Won the conference, first time ever in school history. So
Nice.
it was, really good place. Had some success. Was fortunate, and still have friends. That's kind of the cool thing about coaching is relationships. But my first quarterback, Pat Conley, to this day, he comes to Bloomington. We have a golf scramble fundraiser for the South football program every July, and he comes down every year and plays in it.
Yeah. And he still lives in.
No, he actually lives in Avon now.
Okay.
But he's also an unbelievable golfer.
Really.
He's great to have on your team.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a
A player.
Yeah,
Got
he's
the
an
A.
A player.
So any chance to get out and tee it up, he's all for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. But that's the relationships, through football that you forge.
Lasts forever.
Through sports
Yeah.
in general. And I know one thing great you said earlier, Coach, was about playing multiple sports.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a big proponent? I mean, you always wanted. I know a lot of your guys played basketball down there at South, wrestled. I mean, you always wanted those guys being in multiple sports, correct?
Well, here's why. I did it. So
Yeah.
how could I look a kid in the eye and have any substance to me and say, well, you can't do that? That's when But I do believe in it. Now, I just named my coaches. Okay.
Yes.
And so I always explain, I would be hard on my kids if they weren't going to play another sport. But the biggest thing I think high school really isn't about getting a scholarship. It really isn't. Okay. It's about experiences.
Yeah.
And what you want, again, I want my players, wherever I've been, I want them to look back and say, man, I had a great experience playing football or basketball or wrestling or whatever that. So, to me, play as many sports as you possibly can. And because just like now, what are you talking about your whole life?
Yeah.
Right.
Your high school years.
More days, baby.
Yeah.
I've had guys, been fortunate, I've had some guys play in the NFL, and they will tell you, nothing like high school.
Yeah.
There's nothing like high school. So, yes.
To me, so I've got 2 daughters, and they both played softball, and I coached them for a while, so I'm going to make a couple points off of that. You got dads out there, and some moms, they're 12 years old, and they're screaming at the kid like crazy. And I would pull them aside, and I'd say, on the scholarship meter, you're closer to making them quit than you are getting them a scholarship. They're 12.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one here from Tennessee or Florida State scouting a 12-year-old softball game. Like, stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
Yeah, and you kind of have to
Let
realize,
it be kids.
Yeah, let them be kids, and like you said, it's the experience about what you do. And I think that sometimes people get so hell bent on getting a scholarship they lose sight of that. And like Bud said last week, he wants his kids to play because you only get to go around. Like, you only get to be in high school once,
Yeah.
and if you mess it up or it gets messed up, you don't get that opportunity over again.
Well, really, and of course, obviously, I'm old school. I'm retired, but things are a little bit out of control, And,
Yes.
and we need to kind of. And the only reason I say that because I coached for 43 years and I loved it. And I want other guys to have those same experiences. And I'm afraid young coaches are going to get burnt out. But you talk about it. Carmel's real proud of their dad's club.
Okay.
And I get it. It's they got a lot of people, a lot of numbers, but they would always invite high school coaches to come to their meetings when they would talk about schedules they're putting in place and those types of things. And after a while, they quit inviting me because I would always tell, why is a 5th grader playing 60 games of anything?
Right.
Exactly.
And so when I made a point that they really had no answer to, you may or may not know, but when I was at Carmel, I had a Mr. Football, Morgan Newton.
Yes.
He was really, really good. And we won a state championship with him. And
Went to
also-
Kentucky.
Yes. And so I was sitting there telling them, because they were saying how they all had to start playing at a certain age. And I said, Morgan Newton never played football until he's a freshman, and he's Mr. Football now. You sure about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I didn't get invited back anymore.
He didn't play till he was organized football.
I didn't play organized football. I grew up in Southern Indiana. I went to Pike Central my 6th grade first semester,
Yeah.
Pike Central, and they didn't have Little League football down there in Southern Indiana. So when I came to Martinsville, I was like, and the funniest thing about it was I went to football camp before my 8th grade year, and another Coach Siderwood story. He sees me. I'm 6'2" and about 200 pounds, and he comes over and he goes, "Hey, you play football or are you a basketball player?" And I said, "Well, Coach, I've never really played organized football." And he goes, "Well, you better." So, and Larry Emge was Gold Savage Lair was the 8th grade. I went to East. But anyways, what I'm saying is you're correct. And I had a kid, Jalen, going to Purdue now, Jalen Allstop Vandeventer, moved to us from Warren, did not play. 6'6", 280, didn't play till 8th grade. So those examples are out there of kids that, they mature later, whatever, but you don't have to start when you're in 6.
Like you're saying, they don't have 1,000 hits on their knees. They don't have 500 hits on their, you know what I mean?
Jalen's going to play Division I football fairly healthy. I mean, he's very healthy.
And it only takes one bad coach to run a kid off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
I'm not playing anymore.
And like you said with Morgan, I mean, he didn't play till he was a freshman, and then ended up playing. Did he start all 4 years at Kentucky?
No, he got hurt at Kentucky, so he was off and on because of
Injuries, yeah. But yeah, I think sometimes it gets out of whack. And then I also think, like you said, you start playing 60 games a season as a 5th grader. By the time you're sophomore, junior, you're fed up with whatever sport it is. You know what I mean? Because you played so many games. So I think it's good.
I played baseball with Tut. I played baseball for Tut, and We played IABA, summer baseball. You played 2 times a week. We didn't practice. We got in our cars. We followed Tut to the games, and he'd buy your dinner afterwards. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's all you did. He didn't demand practice from you. He didn't demand this from you. You played 25 games that summer over 2 months, and you were done. And that's what I'm saying. These people now, though, they've doubled and tripled it. And a kid working on one sport gets burnt out.
It's like an arms race, too. I remember when my daughter was like 6 years old, we're watching the game in front of us. This girl's got a $300 bat. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, why would you ever buy it?
Yeah.
8-year-old kid at $300 bat. And then she hit it to the fence. And I was like,
well, they have $300 helmets down football.
yeah.
How much was your helmet when you played, Coach? Probably $10. Maybe. Yeah. I look at those old helmets we used to play, and they were soup bowls, man. They were like, they were, those old Rydell's were horrible. Oh, Lord. Yeah. It was like, the guts were horrible.
You got an air helmet, though, because I had an air helmet.
Yeah, but they weren't that great.
No, I'm not saying they were great, but I mean
they were probably
trying.
upscale from what he played in.
Yeah,
no question,
seriously, he had the Rydell helmets with the Velcro. I'm sure.
We did have helmets.
Yeah.
That's you had helmets. Now, Coots and Ciderwoods played with no helmets, face masks.
You listen to his stories. None of them had helmets, and they on and on and on. Coach Bill,
I think
Coach
that
Eric.
would take away the targeting. If you take the face mask off, you probably cut down a lot of the targeting.
Yeah.
There you go, Mr. Roden.
Yeah.
Y'all like the kid on it, played with this dude for 2 years. Those 2 years, the upperclassmen set the tone for the program going forward. Effort, toughness,
Oak tree.
competitiveness. Good to see you.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Steve Stevens has a leather helmet. It shows.
Yeah. It's,
we can tell.
don't send us a picture, Steve. Yeah, it's funny.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, Oak Tree, man. He was a good player. Good all around athlete. So when you went up north, how long was you at Lakeland, Coach?
I was there 5 years.
Okay.
And
39 and 11 in 5 years.
40.
There you go.
40 and 11.
40 and 11.
Man, your research tonight's
it's
slacking,
bad.
man. It's slacking.
And then it came to, the South job came up, and again, late. I think I moved to Bloomington South because I had to wait for the board to approve it and move maybe nine days for the actual first day of practice.
Wow.
And my wife was actually going to IU Purdue in Fort Wayne, and she had to stay up there. She had a phone. That was it.
Yeah.
For about 2 or 3 weeks before
funny.
she could move down.
No cell phone. It was a phone.
Yes.
Was it a rotary or did it have the buttons on it yet? Probably a rotary still. Yeah. It's so funny.
So you get to South and you hit the ground running. You go 8-1 first season.
Yeah, we actually went undefeated in regular season, and we got beat first game of the tournament. Terre Haute.
South.
They had Tony McGee.
Tony McGee, Amo Stevens.
Yeah.
Remember Amo Stevens?
Yeah.
That dude. Yeah.
Tony McGee played.
Tony McGee was
played NFL.
went to Michigan.
Yeah.
Was NFL.
Oh yeah.
Hey, North and South had some runs of some talent back in
we
those
played
days.
against Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Thompson, Ernie Thompson,
I'm sorry, Ernie.
Rocco.
We're talking about John Dean.
Oh, John Dean was a horse,
Well,
man.
we beat Cathedral last 13-9. Last game to go undefeated. He broke his foot. So that put a
damper on your veer
early
offensively.
on. I think my first 4 years South. Yeah. We didn't win. We got beat first round.
Wow.
So it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we finally
Broke through.
got it turned. And
Had some success in the regular season, but you couldn't get through the tournament breakthrough.
No.
Yeah. So
But that cluster or whatever it was back then, that wasn't an easy one to get through though either.
well, it wasn't clustered.
no, back then
That
you
was-
weren't.
I was
everybody-
cluster in
you were
85. I didn't know
clustered.
if it was sectional
No,
or whatever.
they
I was
changed it.
clustered at Lakeland,
Yeah.
but it was.
They changed it back then to, I think 5 classes had finally gotten in, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and you just basically everybody was in the tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't have that. They got rid of qualifying for the playoffs.
So one thing I meant to ask you earlier when we were talking about when you were in high school. So the state championship in football didn't start till what, 73 or 74?
I think the year after I graduated.
Yeah,
so 74.
Yeah.
Or fall of 73. Because Bloomington lost to Cathedral.
In the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you would just play your 8 or 9 games, and then the season was over. There
Played
were
10 games.
10 games, and then that was just it. There was. So, why do you think it took them so long to get a state championship going? You think it was just logistics, or?
I honestly, I don't really have the answer for that. I'm very involved now in the Coaches Association,
Yeah.
stayed involved. But there were some coaches back then that kind of got that thing going. One guy that was pretty big in that was Bobby Springer. Who used to
Mhm.
go
Yeah.
Bob Springer, yep.
Yep.
But I think it was more coaches got together and came up with suggestions and basically presented to the IHSAA, and that's how that all got started.
He had some very good teams at Washington.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
he won. Bob Springer won two mythical. Like they named a team the state champion at the end of the season, so they called them mythical
And he
state
won.
champions. And then he won
Two.
regular,
Yeah.
just going through the tournament
playing.
at Indianapolis, Washington, which, if I'm wrong, Coach, got Ben Davis basically took most of their talent. I mean, when Ben Davis became the big, they ate a lot of their talent up, and that was towards the end of Bob's career. But yeah, he lived in Foxcliff out here.
Yeah, I knew that.
His boy Mike's the principal at Monrovia, Mike Springer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
he-
knew that
he
Bob
played
lived
with-
out
He
there.
was a sophomore, I think, when
Yeah.
I was a senior.
Yeah.
Bob coached George McGinnis.
That's what I was.
Yes.
Gonna say, yeah.
And Larry High, all those guys that were big time.
Big Mac. Yeah.
They have a
McGinnis
great-
was a heck of a football player.
Yes.
McGinnis
Well,
was?
Oh,
George
yeah.
McGinnis.
I said I didn't know that.
There's a story. I heard this story through the grapevine.
Well, he had
that
hands. He could.
Yeah. They asked Bob Springer why he played a defense where he had three guys. So if you lined up, three guys to the right side of the center, and George McGinnis ate up two gaps. He was that big and bad. And they asked Coach Springer,
Mac.
why can you, this is not sound defense. And he goes, it's sound defense when you got that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you put him in the gap. He took two gaps. The linebacker played, scraped off of him wherever he went. He scraped inside or he scraped outside. And yeah, so not a lot of people know George McGinnis was an unbelievable football player.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I knew he played, and he
Yep.
played tight end, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And tight end, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a stud.
Yeah.
I actually saw him play in high school. My dad was a referee, and he repped. It was Washington against Cathedral. It's not even there anymore. It was the old CYO field in Indianapolis. And I saw, and that game was for like the championship. It
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Coach Gillen's a really good friend with a guy named Joe Kelly. You know Joe Kelly, Mo?
I do not.
He played at Cathedral. He played in that game against Washington.
I would
and-
imagine having Big George when it's 3rd and 10, you just send him over, just throw it up and let him get it.
Well, the problem was Bob probably didn't throw it much, though. He was double tight guy, T backfield.
Yeah.
So George probably caught, 5 balls all season, maybe?
Right.
I mean,
I bet it was 3rd and 10 every time.
it might have been.
Our first and goal. Something.
Yeah.
Coach still
Go
talked.
corner, yeah.
Coach Snyder was talked about, or Tut. Actually, it was Tut that talked about when they went slot. They called it slot and con. He said you'd have thought it was blowing the other team's minds, and they had Kenny Mask when Jerry played,
Yeah.
and Kenny was a burner. And he said they wouldn't move nobody out there. He said it was just they didn't know how to defend it. And this goes back to what he said earlier about like Coach Snyder was being pretty innovative with things and moving people around and doing things. So yeah, I mean, you just move a certain person in football sometimes, and it screws a whole mess of people up. Yeah.
So like you said, you the first 4 years losing the first round of the tournament, and then in '91, kind of have the breakthrough season, go 11-2, get to the semi-state, play against Ben Davis.
We lost. Excuse me. We lost to Ben Davis first 2 years, 91 and 92, and then in 93, North Central knocked them off, and they were really good. And we went up there, and we were down 14-7, where my wife just marvels at how you remember certain things.
Yeah.
But we shifted our tight end to one side, and we had a guy come in that had an eligible number on.
Mhm.
So he was
Overloaded.
our
Unbalanced.
left tackle, and we faked the veer one way. It was 4th and 10.
Oh,
It's
my.
late, and his name was David Casey, and he caught one pass that year. And
So you ran the old hot pass back to him.
right,
Tight end.
back hot.
back to him, but he's not looking. And all of a sudden he just turns, and I just said, our quarterback Eli Starr, he just stuck it on him.
Oh.
He catches the ball. 2 guys from North Central both hit him at the same time, fall, and he scores. And we went on to win the game, and then won the state championship.
Wow.
That's awesome.
On that, it was pretty cool.
So that was in the regionals?
Semi-state.
4th and 10 in the semi-state.
Yeah.
Tackle, you run tackle over.
That's some Boise State
And
stuff
that's-
there.
Well, you know what though? That's funny. That's unbalanced, right?
Right.
And you put an eligible number on the backside. They didn't pay no attention to it. And you still ran split back veer then.
Yep.
So you faked the
Fake drive.
veer there and
Faked
threw
it.
it back to the left. Yeah.
So when he throws the ball and he's not looking, what's going through your head? Are you every word you can think of?
No, everybody's gonna say, "What's that idiot?"
Yeah. What the heck kind of call was that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great call, but the kid,
And
hey,
then just
And he
as a-
really didn't catch it. I could just stuck it.
yeah.
surprise, coach. He went, oh, there it is. I get it. Yeah.
And then the two guys hit him at the same time, which probably kept him up, right? Yeah.
So did that tie? So hold on, you were down 14-7, so it tied the
Tied
game.
it up, and
One-
then the momentum turned. We stopped and scored and won by touchdown.
Isn't that amazing in football? Just like
I'll tell you another game would have been the week before that in the regional. Because see, that year, I think 93. I think Martinsville was ranked in the state, 7th or 8th. We beat them at Martinsville.
That's when you guys had Bo. Was
Yes.
Bo Barzalauskas.
We
Yeah.
go to Evansville, playing Harrison at Bossy Field. We're down 21-zip,
Oh my.
and it's starting to spit. So if it starts raining, it's over.
Yeah.
And on 4th and forever, okay, we were running a bootleg, and the corner was jumping the underneath route and letting our receiver go uncovered. His name was Chad Batchelor. Again, caught less than 10 balls all year. And all we said was bootleg, throw it to Batchelor. And we did, and we scored, and then we just ran and
The
came
momentum
back. So
flipped.
we beat 3 teams on the road that were ranked in the top 10 to
Wow.
get to the state championship.
Yeah, and you go
But
for
I had some guys.
Well, I'm gonna bring up a bad memory for him because I only beat his butt one time in high school when I was in high school, but it was out on our field, and we jumped on him in the first half. I think we were up. It was I think we won 39-37, kicked a field goal to win it, but your kid picks off. Okay, see, he's starting to play it. He picks.
Sisson brought that up the other day.
But the kid picks the ball off, and if he's in the end zone, the game's over. I mean, the ball was. You couldn't have put a credit card between the goal line and the football.
Yeah.
The kid took a knee. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So they're up. They have the lead, 37-36, and we're going to get a safety. We loaded the box, and he was still running split back veer then. He tried, and his quarterback kept it, and we got a safety. Or no, it was 37-34. We got a safety, made it 37-36, which means we get the ball back.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time I beat him in
kick,
football in
then
high
you-
school.
right.
And then we drove it down and Bridwell kicked it. But we were up on them 21 or 24 points at halftime, and they made a hell of a comeback to take the lead. But, I mean, you want to talk about football, the game of inches. I mean, I walked out there, I was on D-line, and I looked at the ball, and, I mean, it was just fractions. You know, the game of football's inches. It was inches, and we made the stop on defense. And
That sounds like a referee's decision on where the mark was.
No, you watch the film. I don't know if the kid downed it. I don't know.
No, he would that. Yeah.
He was down He was down. I mean, if he just carries his momentum in the end zone, the game was over.
And
They
you feel
were-
bad for that kid because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, he made a good play. I mean, it was just it's one of those things that happens. But yeah, like I said, that's the only time I had any success against him in high school was when I played. We went down the next year. We were pretty good, and they beat us down there at their place.
Yeah,
They always had good teams, man. His teams were always solid, just hard nosed football teams, man. Just did the right things.
So when we talked to Bud, I said maybe one of the dumbest things ever. I said, so Bud's won 1 million state championships, okay, but he went 10 years without winning one. And I said, so you had a 10-year drought? And he kind of looked at me, and I'm like, yeah, that's a bad choice of words because there's no such thing as a drought in winning state championships.
Well, in that 10 years, though, I did jump into your fence.
Yeah.
In that 10 years, Bo, he'd won 2, and I went, hold on, most guys to win 2 would like give it, they give anything to win 2.
Right.
I mean, and Bud was like, yeah, I won 2.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he was runner up in that.
And he was runner up in that time
Yeah.
frame. I mean,
but my point is, like, you don't just get a good run of kids that long. It's got to be coaching, don't you think? I mean,
A little of both, maybe.
Yeah, I think. Remember, I said earlier about you got to have a program,
yeah,
mhm.
and so I think if you run a really good program, you can have good teams, But to have great teams, you're going to have players.
You're gonna have to have.
You can still have some good teams and be successful. So if you have a good program, but when I won state championships, I had guys. You know, I had players.
Well, did you expect in '93 to? I mean, was you thinking you could win it that year?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, because we've been
right
those
there.
guys started as sophomores.
Okay,
So you had Bo, you had Eli Stoddard, who was Trester Award winner. We had Tyler Thompson, big time receiver,
Yeah.
played professional baseball.
yeah.
We had Brady Shields, who went to IU on a school. I mean, we had guys. And finally, we just got over the hump our senior year, their senior year, and we were able to get it done.
So '91 they go 11-2 and they get beat by Ben Davis, who ends up winning the state.
Yeah.
'92 11-2 get beat by Ben Davis, who ends up runner up. So I mean, you're right there both of those years, and then like you said, in '93.
Yeah.
So the expectation was there. You knew you could win it with those kids.
Yes.
No question.
Yes.
And then I know 94, 95, obviously you were
Not as
competitive. You were competitive, but
Yeah,
you
not
lost
as
your
good.
guys. You lost all them seniors.
Then we started rolling again in 96, 97, 98,
Well, I tell
99,
yeah.
2000.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a guy in there called Grossman that was
I was
Yeah.
getting
pretty good. Rex was really good.
Started after 4 games. He started his freshman year,
Hmm.
and once he became starter, we were 42-4.
42-4.
He was
Yeah,
good.
he's really good.
So what made him good? Just his ability to.
There's a couple things. One, I'll never forget the first day I really ever watched him. He came over. We would start throwing in the wintertime in the gym. And so I invite the 8th grade group, come on over and throw. And I invite them all.
Yeah.
So nobody's,
But
kept
hurt.
out from doing it,
Yeah.
excluded. So I will never forget that day because the rest of the day I thought, this kid's throwing a football and it's whistling through the air. And he's in 8th grade.
As an 8th grader.
And he was gifted throwing a football. Gifted. Blessed. He would, I could tell so many stories. We'd walk in the gym one morning. Honest to God, he's at one end. He goes, "Watch this, coach." Throws it through the hoop at the other end. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
And every day in practice, coaches are standing, behind the offense, and you look over to the other coach and go, "You see that?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's who he was.
They're elbowing each other.
The second thing, and this is the truth, and hopefully I don't upset too many people. The toughest player I ever coached.
Really.
He was mentality, and that's why wherever he played, his players really loved him because he never got, if they missed a block, he didn't say it. He was just a hard-nosed, tough kid. In fact, the guy the Spinks that used to coach at Cascade, I think he's at Indian Creek now.
He's at Indian Creek.
He tells me the story. I'd bump into him at coaches' clinics. He played against Rex.
Okay.
And so it's at our place, and he destroys Rex. Just kills him. And he said, as he's getting up, he goes, "Rex," he goes, "How do you feel about that, Rex?" And Rex says, "I'm okay. We just scored a touchdown."
Because he gave it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He gave it and he tackled it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's funny stuff.
That's funny.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Rich is out in California, and he says, "What do you think of the high school football factories out there? They got the Bosco, Mater Dei, and De La Salle."
They've got really good football out there. There's no question.
Oh,
California football.
Play
That's
year-round.
why that's Southern Cal, and you see all those programs out there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's been great football for a long time. There's a lot of good football out there in this country. A lot of places.
Yeah.
Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
think
I will say this: Indiana football is a lot better than it used to be. It really has. Year by year, gets better, and I think the best how you can evaluate that is every school in America recruits Indiana now.
Indiana now.
They didn't used to, but they're going to come.
But
to
they're
Indianapolis.
coming. Yeah, they're coming.
They're coming to Indianapolis.
You're right.
Florida, Notre Dame, Alabama, all of them.
I agree with you.
They're coming to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Brownsburg's getting really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Avon's getting really
been
good. I mean, you got some big factories now in that area that it's just not Ben Davis anymore. I mean,
No.
it's Cathedral. I mean, Cathedral's obviously back in the realm of things, but yeah, it's
Chittard,
Shatar,
Martin brothers.
Yeah.
the
Big time
Martin
NFL
brothers,
players.
NFL players. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played against one of them when I was at Indian Creek. in the semi-state, and I showed my lineman the film of him that week, and I go, "This is how you play O-line."
Yeah.
I mean, that dude would play to the whistle, finish you, and he got 2 15-yard penalties in our game, but he didn't care.
He didn't care.
No, he just
Sending a message.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Doyle played at Cathedral.
Yeah.
Jack Doyle, yeah.
Wasn't it Duper or Clayton?
Clayton
Which one?
played at Cathedral.
I
back
watched
in
him at
the late
West Middle.
70s. Yeah,
Light us up for one.
yeah. Well, I mean, Jeff George is at Warren Central.
I watched him light me up for 4 quarters.
There's been some,
There's a guy I work with that went to high school with Clayton,
Mm-hmm.
and he said I was the best athlete in our neighborhood, every sport, till he showed up.
Till he showed up.
Yeah, till he showed up, and he always tells stories about how good he was.
But now, like Mo said, and I know going into his Carmel years after you left South, you went to IU actually with DiNardo, correct?
Yes.
And so obviously the difference. What did you enjoy more? You enjoyed coaching high school more, correct? Because did you enjoy? Obviously enjoyed college, but
everybody. I've been asked that question a million times,
mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed both. I can't say that I liked one over the other, but towards the end of my career, so the last 10 years, I had some opportunities to coach, to get back in college, and at that point in time in my life, high school was a better fit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't work any less coaching high school than I did college. The difference was I did it at home.
Yeah.
I did my prep at home, so I got to be home. And that's
you weren't in the building,
right?
Yeah.
And in college, especially when I was with DiNardo, and it's that's not the only place that was like that. We'd show up at 6:30 in the morning, and go home at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the truth.
And how hard is it to win at IU?
I think it's changed. I think Tom Allen is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not only is he a great coach, he's a better person, and people see that.
Yeah.
And they see him more than a football coach. And Tom truly cares about you.
Yeah.
And that's not every college coach is like that. And he could probably attest to that
Yeah.
more than I can. But he has players there now, and they've committed to the football program. I think Tom Allen is going to win a lot of football games at IU, and I hope that he's going to be there a long time. So I think it used to be really hard, and I'm not saying it's not hard now.
Right.
I just think he's made it a place where kids want to go.
Yeah, his recruiting class this year keeps getting better.
He got a 4-star kid from Alabama today.
Yeah.
So when you can go to Alabama and bring a kid up here, that tells you something. I mean, because
well, he's got the ties. He was at Central Florida.
Yeah.
He's been down in Florida. But one thing about him is the energy that he brings.
Those kids,
and they buy in, and it circles back to what you talked about earlier. You got to buy into a program. I mean, and I know at South, one thing about Bloomington South, and I always said this about Center Grove and Bloomington South, Martinsville used to be I know when you took the job at South and got it going and got it rolling, but Martinsville used to be the big dog in this area. I mean, it really did as far as football went and things, and Center Grove was down and South was kind of right there. You know what I'm saying? So now I always told people, I said, we got to get like them. We got to get like Bloomington South, because JR and you were all on the same page. Everybody's going in the right direction. To go back to Coach Allen, the administration is all on his side, and you got to have that to build a really good program.
It's like Mo said earlier, it's program. It's not this season. It's not this game. It's the whole big picture. It's the program.
And everybody buys in. And another thing I say is like where we're at now at Mooresville, juniors and seniors play varsity football.
Yeah.
To be successful, you know that.
Yep.
You don't play a lot. A Rex Grossman comes through every now and then, or guys like that. Nick Zachary for Bud.
Sure.
But if you're going to be solid and up there every year contending, your juniors and seniors play, your sophomores play JV, and your freshmen play freshman.
Yeah.
And it just cycles every year.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how programs go.
Nyla has a great question here. What would be your best advice for a young high school player? And Nyla, what are you talking? What's the end game to get a scholarship, to play in high school, to just to play? Expand on that a little bit, Nyla. But so, how's the travel? I would think the travel at IU is a lot time consuming. I mean, like, it eats up a lot of your time playing.
Recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll be honest. I loved recruiting. I really enjoyed it because I go into high schools and I talk to football coaches and kids. So recruiting was not an issue with me. I know some guys don't like it, but and it was scaled back so much. I mean, you are limited on how much you can be out.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it wasn't as much as you think. So really the plus of college, one of the pluses, if you're doing pros and cons as far as coaching college, and college, there's more, it breaks up. So when you're done with the regular season, you don't see your players for a while because you're out recruiting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to get out and get away, get to different places and meet people, talk to people and recruit. And then you come back and you see, you can't hardly be in the weight room with them, you know?
Yeah.
And so then you have spring ball. And I love spring ball. It was fun. So, but high school, that's the one difference is, man, you're with your kids every day, all year. So that's the one thing.
So Nyla says not necessarily looking for a scholarship, just to play. Just what advice would you give him just to get him on the field to play?
Well, you know, I think most importantly, is you've got to have fun. So whatever you're doing, it's got to be fun. But if you're going to be good, and you want to get to me, is you got to pay a price. I mean, you got to get in the weight room. I think you got to do a little bit more than what they ask of you. If you're trying to narrow the gap, you got to do things. You know, you hate to go back and bring up different. But I used to tell when I was in high school, we had I played with a kid named Carl Schieffer that lived way out on Martinsville, 6 miles, and once a week we ran from his house to the workout. To run 6 miles in and then go through something with cider some kids because we wanted to get there. So I think it's basically
you wanted to make him a part of it too.
So if you want to play,
dedication,
you got to work a little bit harder.
I'm not big on like the cheesy sayings or whatever, but Derek Jeter said it's okay for someone to have more talent than you, but it's not okay for someone to outwork you. And especially if you're the less talented kid, you got. What her favorite saying is, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." You know what I mean? And I agree with that. That I mean, it's like you said, you got to do more than the other guy, especially if the other guy is more talented than you.
My last year at Carmel, 2009. In 2008, we were really, really good. And we lost to Center Grove, a couple onside kicks, tough loss in the state championship game. We lost 10 starters. And we still got to the state championship game. Hate to bring it up, but if you ever saw it, we really had a really tough call.
Hold on. That was the worst blown call. So, hold on. In high school football. It was bad. It was bad.
But to me, what I was getting at is I did not have one senior get a college scholarship. But I had 4 kids off that team go to Ivy League school.
Yeah.
And my quarterback came to IU, got admitted, full admittance as a freshman to the Kelly School of Business.
Wow. And
scored perfect on math on the SAT. So, you know, you can be successful. They were, you know, very intelligent kids and worked really hard to be successful in athletics.
And obviously coachable. I mean, because they have high intelligence and can listen and execute what you
to replace 10 starters and get back to the state title game is and that goes back to how many of those kids did they play a lot as juniors would be my question to you. I mean, did they have a big senior class in front of them in 08? I mean, so did a lot of those juniors have experience, or was it just a handful of them that played?
The quarterback, the one I told that I wanted him to play safety.
Okay.
Because he wasn't, you know, he was just a backup.
Yeah.
And he came into my office, and I'll never forget. And he goes, "Well, Coach, I'd just like to have an opportunity." I said, his name was Adam Schaefer. I said, "Okay, Adam." He ended up throwing like 23 touchdown passes and 3 picks. That's how
There you
smart
go.
I was.
Was Newton the quarterback?
Safety.
Was Newton the quarterback in 08?
Yeah.
So he was behind Newton, which I mean that's legitimate. That's what I'm saying. See, that's where what I
Pecking
said
order.
earlier.
Yeah.
It's a pecking order.
Yeah.
But to get back to the state title game after losing 10 starters is an accomplishment. And then, I was watching that game on TV, and I about jumped through the TV and wanted to choke a ref because that guy was a yard out of bounds.
Yeah.
Warren Central, wasn't it? It was Warren Central you were playing. That was a tough loss, yeah.
And
I mean,
you're
that's
like helpless because there's no replay. There's nothing.
no.
You just
There's nothing you can do. You got to eat it.
You just
Kind of
gotta-
in shock, really.
yeah.
You really are.
Yeah.
Well, you're in shock because he didn't call him out. That's why you're in shock. Lord have mercy.
It always amazes me that everybody in the world sees it except the one guy that needs to. The one guy that is making
That's
the
standing
call.
right there.
Unfortunately, he was watching that guy catch the ball. He never saw him land.
Land.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, he got caught up in the game instead of making the call.
Making them.
Yeah, and yeah. I referee basketball, and I'm trying to break young guys in to get to learn how to ref, but they say, man, this is harder than people think because you get caught watching the game instead of doing your job. I mean, in any sport, reffing.
So they talk about there's a referee shortage right now. What do you think's causing that? You think it's us, parents, fans?
I think it's a combination of things. I know football. It's not as bad here as it is in some states, but I know in Oregon they play Thursday, Friday, and Saturday because of shortage of officials.
So they can rotate the officials.
I know now here on Saturdays, it used to be freshmen would play if if Bloomington South played at Martinsville on Friday, the freshmen would play at Martinsville on Saturday, and the JV would travel down the south.
Mm-hmm.
Now they play both freshmen and JV same location.
So they can use
so you have reps.
one set of reps.
There's a shortage, but
And junior league, and the problem with that too is a lot of these junior leagues are paying more money. I mean, you go do 4 junior league games at $40 a game, you make $160 in a day instead of going to the high school and making $80.
Yeah.
My opinion is, Bo, I mean, you probably know this more than me. They got to pay officials more, I think. I mean, to get guys to get out there, don't you think? Or, I mean,
I think that's probably would help. And I think the other thing is just you got to get some young people
yeah,
started in it.
getting the young guys. Yeah, because you see a lot. I mean, there's guys still reffing that back in the mid '90s from when he was at South, still reffing now. But there's no young, like I just said, there's no young guys.
Over, right?
Yeah,
That's why coaches got to back off their referees. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I was an angel.
Sure.
But I know this. I coached, and I know if I got upset, it's going to hurt me because I wouldn't be where I needed to be mentally. Because sometimes people ask me, well, how do you not just, well, if I do, I'm not going to call the next play is going to be a terrible call.
Yeah.
You got to back off of them, so that we get more official.
And my always thought too is like that guy's a human too. So if you're on him pretty good, he's going to say, "Oh yeah, well watch this," and then you're just going to get another.
Oh, it'll come back. It'll
you
come
know,
back to bite you.
Yeah,
I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I know how it is. It's a fine line, but like he said, you got to be in the game, and if you start focusing on them too much, then you're not in the game. You're off in some other world. So I want to go back to, because I heard the rumor through the grapevine about your deal at Carmel, because you had a good thing going at Carmel.
Yeah.
Was one of the reasons why you stepped away from that job? Was it more of getting offered the job at IU, or was you kind of tired of the dad's club there? I mean, what was your situation for leaving? Because I know you had a nice thing rolling. So was it the IU opportunity? Did you get upset when they kind of took you out of the meetings? And
oh no,
I mean,
that's kind of fun. I think everybody thinks.
Like I said, I just heard the rumor.
Everybody thinks that Carmel's hard on coaches.
Yeah.
I loved Carmel.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely loved it. My parents were unbelievable. I had no reason to leave. The only reason, and here's how it happened. Believe it or not, I'm a line guy. I didn't play line.
Yeah, you coach the offensive line. Yes,
Right.
I know that.
But I became a line coach, and it's what I really love. And the line coach left IU. That position was, I wouldn't even thought about coming back to IU for any other position.
Yeah.
But the way it went down is I called, Bill Lynch was a friend of mine. I didn't talk to Bill, I talked to somebody else. I said, hey, I'm interested. And the reason I did it is I know how college works. So if I don't call and then all of a sudden I decide I want it, I don't have a shot. And it may be done anyway.
Yeah.
And so 3 days later, Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, called me. And he goes, "Why? Guess you're interested." I said, "Matt, I'll be honest with you. Nah, I was, but I'm really not." That was a Saturday. I'm out.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Bill Lynch, the boy, Billy, the son, calls me, who I'd coached for 2 years, and talks me into it. And so I went back, but I think just to be honest, it was the opportunity to be the O-line coach in the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten, yeah.
And that's why I did it.
And Billy's now the OC at Ball State. They just won the MAC. Little Billy is. Is that Kevin? Oh, is that Kevin? Okay.
And Joey
Yeah.
just became the OC this past week.
Where's Bill? Billy was at Rice, but
Billy's out.
He's out. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Max giving you some love and some crap there. So,
So Mac's on now. He said lots of good memories, but dang, Mo, Bloomington South traitor. Only kidding. You've done a tremendous job.
I'm out now.
Crap.
Retired.
Crap.
Yeah.
So you was at IU for 3 years
With DiNardo.
with Coach DiNardo,
Yep.
and then you came back and you went to Salem, right?
2 years.
Yes. And I was telling these guys, but you was the AD there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And we had Salem at a 7-on-7 at Mooresville here a couple of years ago, and the guy that took over for you after you left was very, very high praise, because he said, even though we didn't win a lot of games, you changed the whole thinking there. They got a new weight room. I mean, new weights. You expanded everything. I mean, he said, and we won some games we shouldn't have won because of that. He was very praised Mo very much, appreciative of what he did for a program that had never really been successful, right, Coach?
No, they hadn't. And then when I got there, they almost, the year before, it almost dropped football. Really started from scratch. Got things going, and then I thought I'd probably finish up. I mean, we actually built a house there out in the country, loved it, and then Bloomington called, and everything changed.
The opportunity was there again.
Yeah.
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 So I want to jump back to Carmel real quick. Just a couple things. Are there facilities similar to IU's facilities? I mean, Carmel probably has immaculate.
When I went there, their stadium's really nice.
Yeah.
But their weight room was bad.
Was
And
not.
what people don't realize, when I went there when I went to Carmel in 2005, they had not played for a state championship since 1987, and they hadn't won a regional in 10 years.
Wow.
And they were convinced they couldn't compete in the MIC. And their weight room was a total joke. And the way they lifted weights was and so it was a major job, to be honest with you.
And then, so did you have that conversation? Did you say we need to upgrade the weight room, or did you say this is a total joke?
When I went there, because I had recruited there when I was at IU,
Yeah.
I went up there with the thought, I was kind of like just going to interview. But yeah, my mindset was, if they think that they should win based on where they were at that point in time, then I wasn't going to be at all interested.
Right.
They had already said, hey, we're going to hire a strength coach. We're going to do everything I thought needed to be done. I didn't have to ask. It was already done.
They were already put.
I was just
They're
going to
ready
ask
to
you.
go top.
Yeah, I was asking you.
top
Yeah,
level.
did you have a strength coach at South when you first got there? Probably not when you first got there. You didn't.
No, but
eventually.
And again, when I got to South, they were lifting weights like when we did it 11 years ago. They were
that far behind.
Yeah, they didn't lift during the season. Nothing. It was just like, well, they said, well, that's how you did it. I said, yeah, 11 years ago. Didn't have a strength coach. Second year, I was able to get that done. We have a really good strength coach. Got the weight room redone, got the locker room, did a lot of things to program. You may or may not know, but when I went back to South in 2013, they had won 4 games in 3 years.
Yeah, they weren't. Well, the Kennedy
4
guy.
games.
Yeah, they weren't very good.
1 conference game.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I mean, it was bad.
It had dropped off.
Way down.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
the guy that came from up north, the guy that took the job from Lowell, Kurt Kennedy, yeah, he was a double tight power eye guy, and he had a lot of success. Well, he had success at Lowell, But down in the southern part of the state, it's different football. There's a reason why those guys up north come down to Indianapolis and get their butts kicked, Coach. I'm sure you can attest to this. When all the great teams from up north that come down here, the football in this area in the MIC, that's the best freaking conference in the Midwest. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievably good football. And
so it's Carmel, Warren Central.
Well, I mean, look who's in the state title game. If Carmel goes north, they go through the north and they're in the state title game. But I'm talking when Giesman used to bring his good Penn teams down. Yeah. They used to get shellacked by Warren Central, Carmel.
Hobart would do the same thing.
And I don't know what it was. What do you think that was, Coach?
No, it's the football is.
It's more double tight.
Best football is in the Indianapolis area.
Yes,
and
yes.
It's not, the MIC is good, but now it's all the schools. You've got Avon,
Brownsburg,
Brownsburg, Roncalli,
Chittard,
Southeast. Oh, it's
Fishers won a state championship.
Yeah. So it's a large area. I mean, if you look at the state championship games, Danville. Was in it. Western Boone. I mean,
Weebo's won 3 in a row?
Two in a row.
2 in a row, yeah.
And you know what? We played East Central the last 2 years.
Yeah, they won a title, hadn't they?
They won it in 17. Yeah. They won it in 17. But we played them in the sectional championship 2 years ago, and we played them in the second round this year. And they think they're going to come in and get double tight and push you around. Yeah. And, it's just that we met their physicality. And I went and played over at Connorsville. We were 0-8. Coach's first year at Mooresville. We're 0-8. We beat Beech Grove, go 1-8. We draw Connorsville. We go over to Connorsville, beat them, and we're 1-8 and beat them 64-7. I mean, they were so. But like Coach said, you get outside of about I don't know, Coach, 30-40 mile radius of Indy, and the football's a little different.
Drops off.
You think the Terre Haute schools would be successful? They really haven't been the last 20 years, and it's kind of weird. You don't, it's weird, but it's the truth.
There for a while, you had your Castles
and your Evansville teams.
The Southern schools now we played Evansville Central this year in the regional, and they were physical and they're big, and I mean, yeah.
What year was it? Was Deke Cooper played for
Evansville North?
And the minute I saw him,
that dude was a stud
on Sundays.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Dame and then went to the NFL.
Yeah,
that guy was a total stud.
There was good football. Castle was good back in. I mean, Castle's always been solid.
Still
solid.
Won some state championships.
Yes, they have. Wrights has won some.
Bowl.
But hold on, that's 100 miles. But that's 100 miles away from Indy. And I'm talking. In the 6A world, though, it's the MIC. Right. It's the MIC in the 6A world right now, or 5A even back then. But in 4A and 3A, you get them Southern schools like Heritage Hills and them can come up here and they play good football. Yeah. I'm not saying they don't play good football, but just the speed factor, I think, so much different.
That's what I was going to say.
Pals just outside of Indy, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Columbus East is
Bob Gaddis has had some good teams. Yeah, I mean, so like I said, 40 miles outside of Indy, I mean, you got good football. Yeah. And it kind of falls off. It's weird. It's just kind of weird, and I don't know how to explain it because we took a trip to Leo this year. And they were one of the better teams up there, beat them 40-17. Yeah. I mean,
and they were one of the better ones in the.
They were supposed to be one of the better teams in 4A.
Yeah.
And we just went up there and shoved them around. I mean, now it helps that I had two guys going to Purdue to help shove them around with.
They didn't have any D1s.
Yeah, this year, Coach, I'm going to have to reload. I'm going to have to earn my pay this year because I got to fill them 2 spots. But
Bossy, just run the ball over there.
Oh, yeah. There was no question where he was going to run the ball. I mean, you just got to stop it. He knows that. You get 2 good hogs, man. Yeah, you ride them. You just ride them.
You don't always have to be the smartest guy in the room, do you?
No. Football's not hard. Yeah. It's not hard. Not at all.
So the other thing I want to ask you about Carmel, you remember the first time you saw Morgan Newton? Like, what were you just salivating like, oh my God?
Well, here's the story with Morgan. He didn't go there as a freshman.
Okay.
They lived in Pike Township. Dad was our dean of students. So, but he came to my camp. And so Dad basically, I came in my first year. I think Dad wanted to evaluate me and my program.
Sure.
So then he built a house in Carmel.
So we're going to leave Pike. Hey, we're going to leave Pike and go to Carmel.
Pike wasn't really happy about that.
Sure. No. Yeah. Coach Moyers probably wasn't too happy, was he? Was he not there yet?
No.
Oh, thought he might have been.
Actually, he might have been. We beat him in the state championship.
Yes, you did.
In 07.
In 07 you did, yeah.
So at Carmel, you go runner-up, state champion, runner-up.
Yep.
So in 4 of your 5 years you're playing for, I mean, that's
Not
a
a
good
bad run right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
it's
then you go to IU. Who's the best athlete? So like you had, I mean, the first time you were at IU, you had Courtney Roby, James Hardy, guys like that. Who's the best athlete you think you've ever?
The best player I was around was Chris Nealman.
Really?
He was all pro
lineman.
Yeah.
for San Diego Chargers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you what, he was a tight. When I got there, I was a tight ends coach.
Yeah.
He was a tight end. Now
Mhm.
listen to this. And obviously he wanted to play in the league.
Sure.
And so we were really bad, and we were really, really bad on defense. So we needed to move him to defense. So I had to take him to lunch to convince him that he needed to play defense.
Play D line.
So in the process of doing that, which wasn't fun, then I get reprimanded because that was a violation.
For taking it
Taking him to lunch, yeah.
It's a double win.
There you go.
But I will say this: he was a tough kid, but he was one of the nicest young men you'd ever be. My wife just loved him
Yeah.
and was really happy just because he was undrafted.
Undrafted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Went on he was
Had a good career.
Yeah,
Great
And he
career.
when you saw him play on Sunday, he was mean.
Yeah.
That's
He was
funny.
mean.
Yeah.
He had a switch he could flip off and on.
Oh,
hmm
I don't know how often he flipped it off.
Well, you got to be on that edge, man.
Yeah,
That's
he's
like
on the
you
edge.
got. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta have a little crazy to win.
Well,
Dennis
yeah.
Rodman.
It's to play at that level. That's what people don't understand. You know,
To stay at that level.
Yeah.
to play at that level and stay at that level. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different world. From high school to the Big Ten is like this. I mean, it's like this.
Yeah.
From the Big Ten or any of the big conferences to the NFL, it's like this.
Yeah.
And the difference is it moves so fast out there that the first time I was out there and I looked around, I went, boy, I better pick it up or I'm not going to be here long. I mean, it's just,
NFL,
it's
not
so,
for long.
yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, even though my little short stint there was,
When Alabama played Notre Dame this year,
yeah,
I told her, I said, Notre Dame's going to get killed. And she said, well, I thought Notre Dame was pretty good. And I said, well, let me tell you, Notre Dame has a bunch of really good college football players. Alabama has a bunch of pros.
Yeah,
what I mean?
soon
And
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just it. I mean, they're just head and shoulders above everybody else.
Well, when
Got
he
guys on the bench, it'll be all pros at the
he
NFL
was
in 7 years.
well, I've told you guys that he was
crazy.
my coach my senior year at Michigan State.
Saban.
Coach Saban was, and I knew when he went to the SEC. Hey, when he went to LSU, I said, boys, watch out. He gets his hand on that talent, and he's done nothing but. I mean, and one thing about him is though he's the same kind of guy like Coach Moriarty is though. It's about the program, man. If you watch him, and I'm sure he'll attest to this, he'll get in the best player's butt and he'll get in the worst player's butt
yeah.
all the same. You're all on the same playing field. There's no coddling a guy because he's this guy, and
Yeah.
if you're supposed to do your job, he goes, you do your job. And
What do you think? Why do you think Alabama has built the dynasty? I mean, I know he gets players every year, but is he out scheming everybody? Is he smarter than everyone? What's the deal with Alabama?
Well, I think what I like about Coach Saban is he coaches his program the way he thinks he should coach it, and he ought to because
Yeah.
he's good. But nobody else influences him. He don't care.
Yeah.
It's nobody outside the program. Nobody, not any player coming in. It's just kind of what he said. If you come here and you're good enough, you'll be in the NFL.
yeah,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So
But
I just think he does it the right way. Yeah, and they get great players,
Sure.
but
sometimes it's hard to coach great players and make them. I mean, having great talent as a coach is sometimes you can screw that up. I mean, we've seen it. We've all seen it. Well, I mean, but like, here's the thing. He played like the quarterback this year. Jones played behind Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And he played behind Tua.
Tua, yeah.
He waited his turn.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
He didn't, because you know why? Because he knows his best chance to go play in the NFL
Stay right
is
where
playing at Alabama.
He's probably got all pro, NFL all pros sitting on the bench. That'll be all pros
well, he's
7-8 years from now.
Yeah.
quarterback's going to be first round.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's going to take him.
Somebody. And
I wish Coach could get him. He won't be there.
yeah, you're right. He's not going to be there. But one thing I know, and you know what I tell everybody, Coach Saban still coaches. They don't understand. He coaches defensive backs. When I was at Michigan State, he was over there with the DBs and coached them. He coaches still.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff on ESPN, it's for show and shits and giggles. I'm just going to say it.
Sure.
When he's on ESPN. But when he goes there, man, he is in those DBs' butts, and he coaches them still to this day. And he's hands-on, man.
We talked about this last week. If you think about Bob's run, the coaches he's been around, so Coach Siderwitz goes to Michigan State, George Perlis, Saban his last year. Then he coaches with Bud Wright for 5 years?
I was with Bud for 5, yeah.
And then
Mike Gillen
for 10. I mean, Bob's had a pretty good run too. You know, he's been around some good coaches.
I've had really good luck. I mean, to be where I'm at as far as things go. I mean, not only did I have a really great athletic career, I've had an unbelievable coaching career. You know, and just to get guys that, you know, I've met through coaching, Coach Moriarty, you know, I mean, I played against him when he was in high school, you know, and I coached against him when I was with Bill for 2 years.
Played against my team.
Teams, yeah.
I didn't play against you. Well, for some reason, yeah, we played against his teams, but yeah, you know, but it's
I caught that too.
it's so cool to see. But you know, like I said, John Deem, I remember John Deem when I was a freshman, bad dude, like he said. But Kurt Mallory on that team was a bad linebacker, Coach Mallory's son. Yeah. I mean, he was unbelievable. But then I coached against Rex in 98. You guys won the state title in 98 with Rex. But we played him in the sectional out here, and it was a pretty darn good game in the sectional out here. And I coached against – I mean, I'm just very lucky.
I think it was a one-score game. Do you remember?
I think it was 15-7.
It was 15-7.
That's what I thought.
And it was a good football game. We weren't very good that year. We weren't very good, and they had a really good team. But it was good stuff. Just I love the fact that guys would, you know, I called Coach Mo and he jumped right on it. Yeah. I mean, and you know, that's the good thing. That means that I've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
And it's great to have Hall of Famers around.
That's all
we know. Hall of Famers. I mean, that's my point, you know. And there's a lot of wins.
We got to get something on the wall, though, and start putting these Hall of Fame coaches' names on there that you interview. That's I'm already thinking of that. We need to do that. So we need to get this out of the way first.
Well, you played against Mike when he was at Decatur, though, in the old Conference, Indiana.
Yes, I did.
I mean, Mike had good teams at Decatur. Yes. So everybody here is all tight. Like Gillen and Bud Wright played against each other. Mo and Mike played each other at Conference Indiana back, you know, so it all ties in a little bit too.
Bud's got what, 429?
429, yeah.
And Mike's over 300. You're over 300. That's 1,000 wins in the last 3 weeks.
And Big Bill will be here.
Yeah.
270. Billy and Joe
coming in next week.
And Joe's Joe's
they're racking them up as quick as they can. Right?
Well, yeah, and Coach Moore. We're going to try to get Coach Moore. I'm going to talk to Joe, but I'm sure Eric will come down. I mean, I like Eric. He's good. Great football coach.
There's a coach we'd love to interview. Yeah, a little bit down south.
Well, I'm working on that. You just give me some time. I don't know if Coach Mo would have any pull with that, but we'd like to get Coach Allen on here. Coach, and I don't know if he would with his ties to high school, or would he be allowed?
We actually talk. We communicate because you know we coached against each other when he was
Ben Davis,
and then I recruited his kids. He was at, and I was at IU. He's as down to his schedule is so that would be.
It'd be tough. It'd be tough.
Yeah. You know,
I agree.
He would not think he's too big for it. I promise.
Oh no. Well, I'm gonna call Kevin.
You can tell that just by the way his players react to him.
Yeah.
They generally love him, and he right back to him, and that's a beautiful thing.
I forget what game it was this year, but we've all seen the highlights of him doing the interview and them running off the field behind him. They keep interrupting the interview, hugging him and timing that. That was great.
Well, you know, he jumps. His everything he does is not show.
Right.
No.
It's just who he is. And I always tell everybody, they'd ask me about it. I said, yeah, I always did that in high school, and it always pissed me off because he was on the other side. That mean they were doing something good.
Yeah.
At Ben Davis, he was the defensive coordinator. Ben Davis. Yeah.
I think he chipped his tooth this year and cut it.
Oh, yeah, he got busted his own.
Well, and you know, football's a game of raw emotion.
Right.
It's a very, and there's still a place in this world. I tell people all the time for raw emotion. I mean, what he's doing is he's showing those players, like, you know, and I'll take it to a guy like Coach Saban. As dry as Coach Saban is, and he's very dry,
Yeah.
But his players still love him.
Right.
Because they know he's doing the right things for him. Yeah. But he's just he's not a Tom Allen rah-rah. Now he'll chew your rear end quicker, but he's not a rah-rah jump around, hug you guy. But they know that there's still that feeling there. You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to Coach Coons. Yeah, I was going to say Coach Coons. Yeah. He's not going to come up and give you a hug and tell you nope. But his actions towards you spoke louder.
He'd tell you whip your papa. He'd tell you whip your papa before he'd do that.
Yeah. I offensive lineman, I never had a contact with him. Driver's ed. Yeah. I get in the car on the first day and he goes, Coriel, you never know about times like this. You never know what to say and what not to say to somebody because it could come back and bite you in the butt. And I'm like, for the rest of the time, I'm like, what did I say about defense? But he said it was just messing with me. I was like, man, the whole time I was like, he's going to kill me. He's going to flat kill me.
All right, let's talk about one of my least favorite subjects. Why does Tom Brady keep winning and winning and winning and winning?
Well, it's a couple. One, he's really good.
Yeah.
But whoever he's been with has been smart enough to realize. I mean, I watched them. I haven't watched a ton, but I've watched them enough where he's got guys in front of him that can protect him.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. And that's where, it was the same thing in New England. When you keep him upright, and it'd be nice to see somebody else win. I mean, I'm not anti-Tom Brady, but, I think it's going to be – I think they'll probably win.
Yeah.
And I think because what I see is I don't know that Kansas City can put pressure on him. If you allow him to be comfortable, he's going to beat you. Yeah. And I think watching their Tampa Bay's defense now.
They're playing well.
Man, they're going to be hard to beat right now. I mean, they've already went and beat two really good teams. Now, Kansas City's good, but Mahomes is unbelievable. But he has to be unbelievable for them to win.
Yeah.
If he has it off, because I don't think their defense is great.
Right.
So
and Spagnuolo blitzes a lot.
Yeah.
And you blitz Tom Brady a lot, he could catch you.
Yeah.
And they let people hang around. One thing about Kansas City, I think they kind of let people, like the game before Buffalo, 22-17, they had to get that 4th and 1 to win the game. You let Tom Brady hang around there, he'll beat you. I mean,
and that's a great point about Mahomes is like if he plays pretty good, it's not going to be good enough.
No.
He has to be
lights out.
And he usually is.
Yeah.
And he is.
But here's two things I noticed. I didn't see the Green Bay Tampa Bay game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know going into the game, Green Bay lost their all-pro left tackle.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know how much people realize, but that's huge in the NFL. That guy that's the lifesaver for the quarterback.
That's the blind side, right?
That's going to decide whether
Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kansas City lost Fisher.
Yep.
Their left tackle. And he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
You'll plug somebody in, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And so I just, I don't know. I think it'll be hard for.
Do you think quarterback is the hardest position in all of sports to play?
I don't know if it's the hardest, but I would say this. It's by far the most important.
Yeah.
It's not a position that you can have. You got to be great there. Yeah. When's the last time anybody won the Super Bowl without a great quarterback? And really, it's almost gotten that way at every level. I mean, you got to have a guy that can really play at that position.
I would say probably Tampa Bay. The year they won, who was there?
Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, what was
Brad Johnson? Hold on, Brad
Baltimore.
Johnson wasn't a bum.
Right.
Yeah. He made the Pro Bowl. I mean, at Minnesota, he made the Pro Bowl. He wasn't a top name guy, but Brad Johnson wasn't. He wasn't a guy like if Ryan Fitzpatrick won the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, and he's not a bum either. But if Fitzpatrick won the Super Bowl, you'd be like, how that team must have been really, really good.
Baltimore's quarterback when they had that defense.
Oh, Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
But hold on.
Yeah,
But Trent Dilfer was drafted into top 10.
But that's
my point.
First of all, he's an NFL quarterback, regardless of where he got drafted.
Yeah.
But that was probably the bottom.
I would think because that defense was really good.
Yeah. The worst quarterback in the NFL is still a really good quarterback.
Yeah, right.
I mean.
Well, I think with Brady, obviously Belichick's a pretty good coach.
Sure.
He's one of the reasons he's still playing is because he hadn't been hit that much.
No.
Taking that many hits.
You know, and I will say this because I love Mahomes. I think he's great for the game. I love his enthusiasm. He's unbelievable. But he better quit taking any hits.
Yeah.
I mean, run around, extend plays, but get down or get out of bounds because you're not going to survive.
Those linebackers are coming.
Yeah, look at Big Ben. It's starting to show on him this year, I thought, from just.
Yeah, but if you notice those running guys, though, like Lamar Jackson won't be in the NFL 10 years.
What was it, RG3?
RG3, he had the year where Luck should have been the rookie all guy, but anyways, but he's out. He just got cut. I mean, you know, so it's like, yeah, I mean, people
look
are saying
how much money the quarterback makes.
Sure.
Right.
And I don't think
compared to everybody
either
else
is intentionally trying to hurt him. I really don't think that.
No.
Yeah.
But if that guy's making $100 million and I'm making $4 million, popping.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so you better be smart.
Well, my coach just said, two highest paid people on the team are the quarterback and the left tackle.
Yeah.
Usually. Because the left tackle's got to protect the guy that's making $40 million.
Yeah.
That's why Bakhtiari was making $25 million. And
Right.
Fisher was an overall #1 pick out of Central Michigan.
Right.
So he's a good football player. So that's what I'm saying. So the Colts this year got to replace Costanzo.
Yeah.
And they're talking about moving Quentin Nelson out there, and I'm going, no, he don't have the feet to play out there. They're like, he's giving up 3 sacks. I said, he gets out there, he's going to give up more sacks than 3.
A bull rush from a tackle or an actual linebacker.
There's a different world blocking a defensive 3 technique than getting out there and blocking them guys coming off that edge, man.
Go block a Freeney.
You got to be moving them feet, and it's so that's what I'm saying. But and I know the receivers hate to hear that, the guys that the pencil necks, but you know,
It's pretty hard where the Colts are going to get the.
well, now that Stafford got moved,
Yeah.
You know,
I read where they were all in on Fields from Ohio State, and I'm like, I like the kid, but
That's a project 3 or 4 years away.
well, again, they're just not. They're going to have to do something draft wise to get to that.
yeah, they got to do something because you know you weren't playing for the 7 seed this year. Now, come on, folks,
Right.
you wanted to be the 3 or 4 seed.
Right.
They weren't, and
They drafted a guy last year, right?
Eason,
But it was in a low round, right? I mean,
fourth.
And I mean, I don't know much about him
Mhm.
other than you'd hear something if they were really high on him.
Right.
You haven't heard
So
much.
obviously he's not ready.
right.
You haven't heard much.
what about the kid? Is it North Dakota State? I've heard some good things about him. Big arm.
But Colts are. I agree, but I don't think he'll be.
You don't think
I
he'll
don't
be
think they'll be. They're talking like 5 quarterbacks could be gone by round 15. With
Pick
the
15.
guy from Alabama being round 15.
The 5th
He's
guy.
like the 5th guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
You got Fields.
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor
Trevor
Lawrence.
Lawrence, Fields.
The
Fields,
guy
a kid from North Dakota.
Brigham Young.
Yeah,
BYU.
Really
Wilson.
good.
He is a good player.
Guy from North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Jones.
Yeah.
those are the 5.
What do you think about Trevor Lawrence? Was he lose three college games in his whole career?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
big arm, man.
Well, you don't count the one they
right? 'Cause
lost.
he didn't play.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we
So
heard
he
that
lost.
1,000 times.
He lost the national championship, and what?
He's a lot. I mean,
Yeah, he won.
that's who you would love to be getting right now.
Yeah.
He's the real deal.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
6'5",
Yeah.
230,
Flowing locks.
prototype.
Yeah.
But then you also a lot of people missed on Herbert. The guy at San Diego had a great year. I mean, and he kind of fell down the draft last year.
Right.
But then look at him. You know, you never know, man. It is such a crapshoot with a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers was the 25th pick. 24th.
Tom Brady,
Brady.
6th round.
Yeah.
One thing about Tom Brady is he brings everybody's expectation level up here. Like, I'm up here, you need to come with me.
You ever see the snapshot of him on the podium where they do the weigh-in out of Michigan?
Oh, it's horrible.
It looked like he just
just
walked out of
don't-
the grocery store bagging groceries.
Yeah. Yeah.
How come so many people missed on him, on Tom Brady? Why did he fall to the 6th round?
Well, you know, he was just okay in college.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's hard to, you know, it's just there's no exact science.
Nope.
You don't always know. It's not always about talent. Obviously, they got to have talent, but do they have that to play that position?
Right.
And
Joe Montana was a 3rd rounder.
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
who knows?
Yeah.
and Michigan back then, honestly, was I formation, play action.
Right.
They ran the ball 30 times a game.
Tyrone Wheatley.
Yeah, they had Tim Biakabatuka that was good after Wheatley. They had good offensive linemen. So you threw the ball 20 times a game. And I always tell people we played him in '95. Scott Dreisbach and Brian Greasy, they subbed him every other series, and Tom Brady was the third stringer. He played behind Dreisbach, and Greasy didn't even play until he was a junior. Yeah, think about that. I mean, they won the national title, I think, '97?
Who's the quarterback for the Rams that won? That was the backup.
Goff.
Trent Green got hurt. He came in.
No, Kurt Warner. He was bagging groceries. Yeah.
He was
So-
legitimately.
Yeah.
So I saw an interview with him, and he was really good in high school. Thought he was going to get offered Iowa. Hayden Fry walks right by him, doesn't even acknowledge him, doesn't even really know who he is. Ends up at Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
Sits on the bench for a couple years, doesn't play, kind of, mad, is getting ready to quit. So goes into the coaches and he says, why don't I get to play? They said, because you don't practice good. And he said he didn't take practice seriously, and so he would just be out there like bored with practice, not paying attention. And they said, it's because you don't practice. And they said, we can't trust you in a game because you don't show us anything in practice. And he said it kind of changed his attitude. And so
Did you ever go to the Colts' practice? You probably did when Peyton was there. Who ran the practice on offense?
Not even close.
It was.
Unbelievable.
Hey,
Was he that impressive?
Oh.
At things like
Well,
that.
he was impressive, but more than impressive. I mean, he was ripping he was kicking butt.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He ripped, and they a lot of times said it. The players hated it. They knew they needed it and they respected it,
but they
didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to tell people because when I was at IU, Donardo and Dino Mangiero and those guys had connections with the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
With who was the Bill Polian?
Bill Polian, yeah.
And so we had an open. We could go anytime we wanted.
Mhm.
So I went and kind of developed a friendship with Howard Mudd, who was a great
Yep.
O-lineman.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So
That was really good.
I mean, they all knew me, but all the coaches knew me. I was there all the time, especially during OTAs.
Yeah.
Because it'd be recruiting. I recruited in Indianapolis, so I'd stop
Jump
by.
over to Colts complex.
And I just could not believe. Coaches didn't say anything.
Every aspect, he knew it all, didn't
And
he?
he ran it. And I'll tell you the other thing I used to tell all my players is something that was very impressive. That the first practice I ever went to, I go out the practice field and wait for the players to come out, and there's a little guy on the jugs machine just catching all passes every which way. Marvin
Harrison.
And I remember telling, I said, "You want to be good? Here, this is what Marvin Harrison did. So try to do this, you'll be a good receiver."
Yeah.
It was just impressive. Everybody thinks a lot of these great players are just good because it's not the case.
No.
You're not going to be great at that level if you don't pay the price.
I always tell my kids, you don't just fall off the couch and be good. Like, you got to put the time in, you got to put the work in.
And like Marvin probably stayed before practice, caught 100 balls, 150 balls, and stayed after practice. And look at the workout they did before the games. Remember when they'd run that passing tree?
Yeah.
I mean, Lord, they was out there 2 hours before the game.
Yeah.
And-
Reggie Wayne said his workouts were harder pregame
Yeah.
than during the game.
Yeah, than during the game. Yeah. So I mean,
And so Marvin Harrison's son is going to be a freshman at Ohio State next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess he's super. Really
I mean, I know Dean hates to hear this, but think about this. I mean, in Tom Brady's pro career, he's played half his life in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Half his pro career, 10 years, has been in the Super Bowl.
He's won
Six.
What are we
and
at?
lost
55.
He's 6-3.
Now? Is
6
it
and 3.
55 on the Super Bowls now?
Yeah, 55.
So
He's been in a
pretty
third
much
of the Super Bowls.
A third of the Super
He's been in a
Bowls.
third of
Yeah.
the. I mean, if people can't say the guy's the GOAT, I mean, he is. I mean, unreal.
Montana.
I still say the most impressive thing right now, though, is he doesn't show any signs of slowing down. That's what's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
He
You
wants
would have thought after he hurt
his.
his knee, what was it, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, the year he came back?
The only major injury he's had though was the torn ACL.
Yeah, but maybe the first 2 or 3 throws after he hurt his knee and came back regular season game, he looked a little like, oh, this could be the end of him. Like by the third series, he's zipping the ball down the field, and you're like, wow,
whoever, yeah.
this guy doesn't miss a beat.
And the other thing
And he's
too
married
is
to Giselle.
he hasn't played. I mean, he played with Randy Moss for a little bit, But other than that, he hasn't really
Name his
had-
great receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Gronkowski at tight end. He's a tight end, though.
Yeah.
Name me his great receivers.
Right.
Edelman.
Amendola and Edelman, I mean, they catch them quick. Speed outs.
Who's
Wes Welker.
Yeah,
That's
Wes.
it for him.
They were a good fit, but they're not the first
No,
guys
but
on
They
your
bought into what he was selling too. That's the biggest thing.
But see, I'm an O-line guy, and Coach is an O-line guy. So here's the deal. So they get beat by Denver. They get beat by Denver, though, and I don't. You know, their O-line coach, what was his name? Scagliotta or whatever his name, something like that. He was the take. So the year they get beat by Denver in the AFC Championship game, Peyton was there. Peyton beat him. They gave up 5 or 6 sacks, and that guy had retired before that season started. Guess who was back on the staff the next year? That guy was back, and guess where they went? They went back to the Super Bowl.
Denver also had a pretty good defense.
No, they did.
linebacker. Yeah.
They did. But what he said though, people don't understand. Those guys in front of him, if he doesn't have time, it makes his world different.
They've made sure of that.
One thing about a great quarterback, and I know, at the high school, if he had Rex Grossman, but even if you got Rex off his spots, he would struggle sometimes, wouldn't he? I mean, you made him uncomfortable. You just made guys. And when Earl Hannaford was at Martinsville, what'd you try to do? Get pressure on him. Earl was a good make him move because Earl was a guy that could poop, 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 but you tried to make him move. The great ones you do.
You think a quarterback, they do more work before the ball snapped or after it snapped?
Well, I think a lot of the work's done during the week. Studying film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then going out on the practice field and making sure the coach, you give them those looks. It's easy. And then so that you just can't show up and do it on game day.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to be done before the ball snap, because once the ball snap, it's
too fast. Yeah.
You've got, I think, when the ball snapped, you have pretty good indication I'm going here or there. Now, I know on TV they say he doesn't. No.
That was his fourth read.
No, you don't get no.
Yeah.
He knows where he's going before,
ends up
because you got
showing-
about 2 to 2.5 seconds. It better be out of your hands.
It's funny, Rogers throws Devontae every other snap. And
Exactly.
Was that a guess?
I always think that's funny when they say, "Oh, that was his fourth read." No, it wasn't.
Well, it's like coaching a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
You called offense.
Yep.
Did you tell your quarterback where he was throwing the football for most part?
Based on
What you did scheme wise.
Yep. But it was simple. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. You kept it simple.
The pre-snap look
Yes.
tells you which side of the field you're going.
Yes.
And then it's bam.
So you've already cut the field in half. This side is
Based on how they line up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now,
Yeah, you have to.
yeah.
In high school, you have to, because they're not going to process, reading it.
And then you're always going to run, especially with your play action. You're going to throw it to your guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's all you're going to get. Through play action, you're going to get somebody isolated one-on-one where you think your guy's better. You're going
And that's the dude you're going to.
And that's when you got a guy that can throw it and a guy can catch it. That's when you win a lot.
Hey, it's not a hard game.
That's what I was going to say. It boils down to that simple. Like, my guy's better than your guy, so I'm going to throw it to him 30 times tonight because my guy's better than your guy.
And they better switch somebody.
We talked about all our coaches that we had. What Cutter always, they got all these philosophies on how to throw it and all that. He'd always tell the quarterback, because he coached receivers. He just said, do you throw it here? Do you read it? You tell her, just throw it to that guy.
Just throw it to that guy.
So many times you hear him in his exact words, just throw the damn ball. That's it. He tells the quarterback.
No, that's Tut.
Always.
Yeah.
Tut goes, my guy's better than your guy.
Yeah.
We're going to throw him the ball.
Never seen a coach get more excited when he could visually see the play, knowing it's going to be wide open.
Oh, Tut was great.
Tut would just be like, "Oh, it's going to work," and boom, there it was. You're like,
And
"Wow!"
then smile from ear to ear.
Oh yeah, that
smile from ear to ear. Yeah, Tut would. Yes, he would. Yeah.
Tell them your Tut story about baseball.
Oh yeah, great baseball story. So Jerry Kohler, remember Jerry that pitched at Martinsville?
Yeah.
And so we're at practice one day, and we're throwing a simulated game. Well, Jerry threw it in there 91, 92 mile an hour. Well, none of us could touch him. I mean, we're swinging and missing and this and that. Tut had them thick Coke bottle glasses too. So Tut gets a little irritated with this, grabs a fungo bat. Now, a fungo bat's what you hit infield with, hit fly balls. I mean, it's half the size of a barrel of a regular baseball bat back then. And he goes, Jerry, right back here and throw it hard. And Jerry's like, Coach, no. He goes, I told you to throw it down here, throw it down the middle. He takes that thing, turns, and cue balls like a pool stick down the third baseline. And he goes, see, this game isn't hard. Now, if it misses the bat, Mo, it kills him. It hits him right between the eyes. He had one shot. And I've also seen him get into Tut stories. You know, they throw at that net. You got that net with the holes in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Tut would have him throw at the pad on the goalpost, the pad on the bottom, from like 30 yards out.
Renard told me this.
Yeah, Adam Renard. And Renard goes, you know, we're sitting there and we can't hit the pad, and Tut's getting mad, and he's, you know, he's got them teeth, and he's going, and so he grabs the ball and he goes, Dad, just give me the ball. He goes, boom, it sticks the A, and he goes, now that's how you do it. And Adam goes, we'd thrown 100 balls and couldn't even get close. I mean, it's the aura and the mystique of guys like that.
What a staff.
Yeah, and it's like
That's probably at this time 45.
Tut was, yeah.
Probably.
Early 50s, maybe. Yeah. Early 50s, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Yeah.
He just picks one off the rack and
yeah, he just grabs the ball and he goes, I told you to throw it here. Sticks the A and looks at him and goes, see, now is that hard?
he reaches down in the ball sack and just pulls it out and just bam and throws it in.
From about 30 yards out, too.
30 yards
No
out.
throws, no nothing. And that's the world you lived in. And like he said, the coaching staffs they had back, it was good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I learned I got lucky to learn from a lot of great people. It's awesome, so.
Mo, did you ever think a middle linebacker from Martinsville would end up with what you got now? State championships, college coaching. Did you ever dream of that, or?
You know, I did. Again, I knew I wanted to be a coach, and it's because of the coaches I had, I think. It's funny because I remember talking to some of my friends from college after we graduated, and they always thought it was funny that first time I met them, and I'd tell them I was going to be a high school football coach.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I never really wanted to coach college. I don't know why. My biggest, what I want to do more than anything else is be a high school football.
Mm-hmm.
I just went to college for that reason. You know, I played football in college and loved it, but I knew that that's something I wanted to do.
It seemed like to me, like you mentioned earlier, it's big business in college. In high school, it's still I don't know if you want to say it's more pure.
It's still a little, it is. It's still a little pureness to high school.
I think when you're representing your community, you know what I mean? When you have a big game on Friday night and you go to school Monday and like everyone's there, you do that in college, you tell me it's more kind of standoffish, right? Where people don't approach you. They're like, oh, that's that football player.
Well, no, you blend in more on a college campus. Obviously, I use 30,000 students.
Yeah.
You know, Michigan State was 40,000.
What do you
Now,
think
when you went into the stadium, though, that was the cool part of
There's
it.
a lot of glamour in college. There's no question. Again, I like both, but I will always go back that I still say I just don't think there's anything like Friday Lights.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's just
No better feeling than
it's
running
hard
out there.
to explain.
It's the whole community.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, when I was playing from 81 to 85, there was three names we heard, and I left one out: Casey, Mo, and Jerry. And Mo's sitting right here in my studio, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, because the stories we heard about you three from Coach Satterwoods, Tutterow, Coots, it's what he motivated us with. Like, we gotta be like Mo, or we want to be like Casey or Jerry, and it was just some amazing stories.
Well, don't let those guys down. See, that's the main thing. When you get a great program, and I'm sure the South, when he had a great program, don't let those guys that played before you down. You carry that tradition on. You're carrying that mantle. You know,
hold up Bo and Rex and say these are the guys that played before us.
You know,
I mean, did you use those guys as?
We just talk. The big thing that everybody's got something. You know, like you said, Martinsville and the gold pants.
Yeah.
At Bloomington, our big thing is the silver helmet.
Yeah. Yep.
It's huge.
It is.
We don't put anything on it.
Nope.
So that stands out.
And I'll tell you how I had 3 Richardsons play for me since I came back in 13. Really good football players, great kids. Tommy Richardson was an all-state linebacker, and he played in the all-star game. And they go to the all-star game, everybody trades helmet decals.
Yep.
He said no.
Nobody's putting anything on my helmet.
Yeah.
What we
That's
talk
cool.
about is live up to the tradition. You know,
now, was that there before you got there, or was that?
I did the silver helmet kind of
was
something
your deal? Okay.
And just nothing. We don't put anything on our helmet.
Now, another thing I noticed about South too is, and this goes with JR, is back when it was the Bloomington. It was Bloomington. North wasn't there.
Right.
You guys still just put Bloomington on your uniforms. See, so you don't put North, like Bloomington North will have North, you know. You guys just put Bloomington. That's all you put.
And purple.
So and purple. That's what I'm saying though.
Notice that.
Because they still, but I honestly believe that a lot of people that go to South still think that South's the only school in Bloomington. And I don't know if that's true or not.
Well,
I did notice that, and I thought, man, that's because I don't know.
There's a history there.
Yeah.
It kind of, was
Because when it was Bloomington High School,
Bloomington University.
It was university, yeah.
it's where South was, or
yes,
South is.
Bloomington High School, Bloomington South. That was the high school in 1965.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right there, that was a new high school because that's the address of the school, 1965 South Walnut.
I got you.
Oh, really?
Okay, cool.
And
That's
school was built
cool.
in
That's
65.
cool.
That's funny.
But no, we just talked about tradition and
Yeah.
being able to wear the silver helmet, and then we gave out, like if you got weightlifter of the month or something, it's purple silver helmet.
That's
have
cool.
Silver helmet award. I have all my note cards that I'd send notes out to players and parents and stuff.
Yes.
A silver helmet on it.
That's cool.
For the banquet, there's a big silver helmet up on the wall, by video.
With what it is, yeah.
That's what it was. That was our big push.
Kids like that,
Yeah, sure.
even though you think they don't.
Yeah.
We had a goal board. Casey Gillen he was on our staff this year. He's our OC. But Casey, we got a goal board, and every Monday, every goal we met, and you watch the kids, and at first they kind of think it's corny, but by game 7,
Oh yeah.
hey, they're going, hey, coach, we got to get the goals up, you know? I mean, they just start buying into your system, and then it's like.
It's like some of the teams have the turnover chains now where they wear the.
One of our big things, which was cool, was we give out players of the week, offense, defense, special scout team, but we gave out black jerseys for big hits or big effort. Okay, not cheap, legal big hits.
Yeah.
And when we gave them out, a kid would much rather get a black jersey than player of the week. And so they got a black jersey, golden crossbones, and they got to wear it every day in practice.
That's cool.
And they would come in, or they'd come in Saturday morning and go, because I would tell them, tell your position coach, don't come to me and complain, because come Monday, either you're getting it or not. We're not giving you one because you say you have one. They would go to their position coach and pull up, pay 172 coach.
Yeah.
Making sure, that. How many of those did you give out, Coach? How many? I mean,
if we had a really good game, we gave out more.
Quite a few. Okay.
You could give out 3 to 10.
Okay, gotcha. That's cool.
I can remember once gave black jersey to Morgan Newton because he threw a pick, but he ran 70 yards to tackle the guy on the 5 to keep him out of the end
Before he
zone.
got in.
Score.
And they didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was a black jersey.
That's good stuff.
That's a big play.
We were at a game a couple of years ago, and Martinsville was killing somebody. I don't know who it was. They're up 35, maybe 42 to nothing, and they've got the ball like on the 15, getting ready to score again.
Oh yeah.
And they fumble it. They fumble the snap, and the defensive end anyway catches it on a bounce and scoops up, and he's gone. I mean, he's going to go 75 yards for a touchdown. And our offense, it was a
Right guard,
yeah, ran the whole way, chased him down, dove at the goal line and tripped him up on the 1 and kept him out of the end zone. In a game we were ahead 5 or 6 touchdowns.
they ended up not scoring.
And they ended up not
Oh, he held the
scoring.
shutout.
Yeah.
Shutouts are big, man. High school shutouts are big.
And
you don't shut people out.
All the offensive linemen, they took about 4 or 5 steps, and they're like, I'm not catching him. And he just kind of peeled off, and he just kept going. And you could see he was just kind of closing the gap and got him at the 1 and tripped him
Forgot
up.
about that.
What's Don Beebe known for?
Yeah.
Chasing down Leon Lett. Hey, they're down 52-17, and he knocks the ball out of his hand. I mean, it just plays like that. You remember stuff like that. So,
Coach Mo, did you ever think about coming here, coaching at Martinsville?
Klusner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson Cleveland.
Yeah, Jackson Klusner.
Yeah.
It never really.
Was you ever approached? Did anybody ever get a hold of you?
Well, it was never open when I was open. I guess.
Okay.
So I wouldn't try to blame anybody. When I came to South, obviously Coach Sidowicz was there. I mean, I was at South for 15 years.
Sure.
I wasn't going to leave South. I went to college. So it was more of, it was never a time where
the job was open.
Or I was open.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They just never matched up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, we've been on 2 hours and 5 minutes, and it seems like we've been on 10 minutes.
I was sitting here thinking you need to get Coach Bud and Coach Gillen and Coach Mo and maybe a few others, and just do a coaching roundtable one weekend when they all can.
Lord.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
We get this thing done, and then set them up.
You get a bigger table, man.
That's what we're getting rid of. This.
Let's catch up here real quick. Rich says, my phone is dying, so I have to go, but thanks for the great discussion this evening. Awesome time in the 70s and 80s with a golden age of coaches, teams, players, and friends. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, Rich. Just say hi. Wilmington.
With Jerry Scott, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was called back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Otto
Otto
Ray.
Ray.
Yeah.
Big Mo, awesome player, coach and human being. Remember Otto?
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Guys, I appreciate it. Everyone joining in and tuning in. Join us next week. We got Coach Siderwitz and Joe will be here. Be another great show. Another Hall of Famer, because that's all we deal with around here.
Yeah.
Hall of
You
Famers.
can't go no lower.
Yeah. So when
gotta
did
set
you
precedents.
got in the Hall of Fame?
17,
So,
17,
Yeah.
16.
you remember getting that phone call?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Sidewicks came to it.
That's
Nice.
good.
Coach Alford came to it.
Oh wow.
Well, you were the first Indiana All-Star for us. South All-Star, weren't you? Or no?
Robin's
Robin's
Was Robin?
Schoolcraft.
Was he?
I was number
Okay.
2.
I missed
You were
out
too.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Damn.
gotta go back to my sources.
I can't remember. Well, I remember the
better
helmets and
info.
stuff up there.
I was all excited for that. Have that
School
little
out.
tidbit. Yeah.
I was actually supposed to go into the Monroe County Hall of Fame last summer,
Mm-hmm.
and the pandemic, so I guess it happens this summer.
Well, that's cool.
And
Congratulations.
I was supposed to go to Nebraska because I was a finalist for the National Coach of the Year. Guess I'm going to Nebraska this year. So,
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Wow.
so I don't know.
Right on.
I'm retired, so it may hurt me.
There
But I ain't going back
Hey.
to coaching.
you go. So you're done, done, right?
Well,
Or
you know what I tell people is, I mean, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved every second of it, but I don't sometimes think people realize how much time and energy goes into it.
It does. Yeah.
And I knew, you know, the summer before my last year, it was just I didn't want to keep getting up at 4:30 and doing it. You know, just I knew when there came a time that I couldn't work, and I am who I am. Maybe you weren't supposed to work that hard, but that's just how I did things.
Yeah.
And so I think I was ready. I think my wife was ready,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because she knows how much I put myself through. And I just love retirement. It's hard to explain. I love
Mm-hmm.
doing what I can do. I joke with it. I tell everybody, I said, if I knew at 22 what I know now, I'd retire.
Retired yet?
I mean, I ain't the
Hey,
greatest
isn't
thing
that
in the
the
world.
truth? Isn't that the truth?
I
I'm
get
telling
up,
you,
I
folks.
drink coffee, I read the paper, I read a book, I walk my dogs. When it's nice, I play
I
golf,
was gonna say golf's in there somewhere.
fix
Yeah,
dinner.
of
Well,
course
that's why
it is.
I mean, we're looking at
Getting to
trying
Florida.
to do something in Florida a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
so I can play a little more golf.
Right.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
With the company you keep down there is a pretty good crowd though.
It's, well, some of them.
Yeah.
But no, I love being retired and just enjoy the game now.
Yeah. You can you just watch a game, or are you analyzing every little bit of it and watching the O line or watching the?
He's like me. He watches the lineman. I
Yeah.
guarantee it.
I
'cause
watch
he's
the
lineman.
line, but I can honestly tell you now the difference is I can watch and relax because in the past I'm watching this. I'm already starting. I'm drawing and figuring out how I can make.
Can I
something-
recap play work?
Learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then when you coach, to be honest, I didn't watch. I was always watching so much film. There wasn't much any time left to watch a lot.
to watch a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now again, I get to be a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. I can watch a game and enjoy it.
It's funny talking to Bob because we all, talk about our favorite players, and we can all name Deion Sanders, Marvin Harrison, all that, the skill guys. Bob can sit there and name you offensive linemen that you never heard of, and it's funny
Yeah.
because he watches the game differently than we do because he played offensive.
But I tell people, they're like, well, what are they running? And I go, they're running the same stuff we ran Friday night.
Yeah.
Football, when it comes down to it, everybody runs power, everybody runs counter, everybody runs inside zone, everybody runs outside zone. Now, you may do a wrinkle here, you may do a wrinkle there, you run out different formations. I said, but football to the purist is a lot of, just like Bud said.
I was gonna
That's
say,
what-
remember last week when he said that? And
Bud
it
said
made
all
so
this
much
spread
sense.
offense stuff now is
We're doing that.
the old single wing.
Yeah.
That how people are doing things now, bringing jet motion and moving guys.
That
You know,
makes
Bud
so much
said it's
sense.
really kind of evolved back to kind of single wing football a little bit with some of this stuff that people are doing, you know, out of the spread. Everybody wants to go no huddle spread and all that, you know, so, but yeah.
Steve Stevens said, I'm enjoying the heck out of this. Bill Martin said, good night, gentlemen. Have a super night. Then Steve said, I think my leather helmet made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, he had a grandson that played. I think you were gone. I think he played for Kevin. Steve had a grandson that played at Carmel.
Okay.
I think Mo was already gone. I think he played for Kevin Wright. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's a pretty good player too. He's an old lineman. Played left tackle for him, I do believe. Oh Lord.
Steve, tell us your grandson.
Steve Stevens. What was your grandson's name at Carmel? Please tell us.
Steve's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. He's in Florida right now. He's in the Panhandle,
It blows me
right there in
once a show, but yeah, he's,
he Lord have mercy, by Tallahassee. He's right, in that neck of the woods. I visited him down there one
Bill
time.
Martin said, I'm there with you, Mo. Love retirement too. Thank you for the great stories. Congratulations on your success. I do really appreciate it, you coming in.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for coming, man. It's good
it's
stuff.
awesome to meet you because, like I said, as growing up and playing in the '80s, you're one of the three names we heard over and over and over again from Coach Siderwitz, and half the time you don't know whether he's BS or not, and then, which a lot of it he was, but just to motivate us.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite thing was, I mean, I told you before we went live, like we'll just kind of go where the conversation leads, and I have notes here to try to keep, but we didn't really have to do. I mean, we were just talking and
I don't think that's the name right there, Coach. Simon Patchuzar or something. I think he was after you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they won a state title when Kevin was there. He was on the team. So right on, Coach. Are you living in Bloomington now? I'm down there in Bloomington. Okay.
We built a house. 3 years April. We're out about. We're probably about 6 miles from the high. I'm west. Like if you went out 45 towards Crane.
Yeah.
I'm out there. We actually are on 5 acres.
Okay.
And
there you go.
I'm a big dog. We have a couple dogs, big dog people. Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Got some land, got a little bit of space, but no, we built it to retire in.
Why do we want to go there? Because I almost said something, and I'll make it quick. We were announcing that game. We were announcing that game. We were up in the booth, Dean, myself, and a few of us, and JR was literally over our shoulder because here's these 48 who's from Martinsville calling that sectional game, and Corey's son, who's with us, Corey's with us now. Corey's kid played line.
Yeah, Nolan.
And we were going nuts in the booth, and we kept saying, you guys got first down. I totally forgot about this. First down at the 10, we hadn't scored. We missed our field goal. I'm like, Mo's going to kick it on first down. Second down, Mo's going to kick it on second. Go to third down, and your kicker misses. But it ends up going back and forth, and then the fourth down, you
put the 6'6" guy.
Right. He'd been there a long time.
Yeah. He'd been there the whole time. You just had thrown it to him.
Well, we were going to go to him when we had to.
Yeah.
And
we had to.
They converted a couple third downs and I think a fourth down by going to him. And right before that play, I said they're going to throw it to that big tight end.
Yeah, one of them. The tall receiver and a tall tight end. And man,
was it Bamba? Was that his name?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was Bamba's kid?
He was tall, really tall, and unbelievable hands.
Yeah, the kid literally just went straight in here and came straight down, was standing like this. And I think Seth was jumping up about his armpit. And that was about it.
Corey was waiting till the end.
Corey had a big drum of salt, and he just poured it in that wound. You know?
Yeah, he was waiting to ask that question the whole time.
Played offensive line in that game. He was a good kid, So.
Oh, there were some Donnybrooks in sectional games, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You remember the one when we beat him on the double pass? That was back like in the 90s.
Yeah.
At our place.
Yeah.
Yep.
We ran. We threw the the quick screen. Okay.
Bubble pass and then down.
And so it's 4th and 10.
Yes, it was.
Right?
I was standing. Well, I was standing in the end zone, watched it happen.
Everybody came up, but here's what happened: when they ran up to him, they stopped because they thought he was. They kind of stopped and bounced. So he had time to reset his feet, and we threw it to the quarterback. Going down the sideline. Right. And there was a bunch of Martinsville guys standing there on the sideline, and they were all excited because they thought it was over, and then they just all collapsed.
Yeah, but do you remember that? You remember that though? Hold on. They had 4th and 1 on about your 40-yard line, and they punted it. They punted it.
Remember that play.
I was in the end zone. They should have went for it to end the game. They had Ryan Cook. I don't know if you remember Ryan Cook played offensive line. He went to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Ryan Cook, big offensive lineman that year. Shrake was the running back, I think.
Matt
Shrake was the running back.
Yep.
But anyways, I was at that game, and I remember everybody was kind of celebrating. And Mo, you threw it to the left, Mo. Then you threw it out to the left and brought the quarterback
out to your sideline.
Yeah, out to the right side. And, that was a heartbreaker. Yes, it was.
I'll never forget. I was in 5th grade, and we're playing Castle in the regionals.
I was a sophomore. That was the hardest game to lose in my life.
And we had pretty much handled them the whole game. There was about 2 or 3 minutes to go in the game. They run a hook and lateral. And so guy catches it. We think we got him contained. Pitches it to the guy.
Hitch pitch,
and he goes for about 75 yards. I'll never forget the roar that came from the other side of the field across. Like, I was in 5th grade, man. It just, like, it's so deflating.
What people forget, though, and I had to run first team offense against that defense, and that was Bertelson and all those guys, and they were phenomenal. We drove the ball down the length of the field again with Bancroft, who I still think to this day is one of the better quarterbacks Martinsville had. He had a shot to Samuelson in the end zone from like 35 yards out, and the picture was in the yearbook. And the kid from Castle is just beating him.
Yeah.
And you're not going to call it. I understand that. But, I mean, that's how close they came to going to state. But that, I think, my sophomore year.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a game. And that Castle
Those
team,
were all good. That Conference Indiana was a good conference when they first started that up
stacked,
back in. It was a good.
Yeah.
Like you said, you'd play them 2 times a year. You'd play them in the regular season, and you'd play them in the freaking sectional.
All through the 90s.
Yeah.
Twice a year. So,
yeah.
All
right, Coach.
Really
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
man.
Hate holding you for so long, but man, it was great talking to you. Have a safe trip home.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure. I'm telling you. And now that we'll kill the mics, Dean, or